The rusty fence creaked under my scissors, and the setting sun stained the cracked walls blood red. Just a few photos, I told myself, ignoring the knot in my stomach as I smelled the stale mold rising from the ground. The silence was so thick that every step I took echoed like a scream. My name is Oberon Nash, 31 years old, urban photographer specializing in abandoned architecture. Urban exploration, they called it. Urbex. I had documented empty factories in Detroit, collapsed hotels in New Orleans, ghost amusement parks in North Carolina. My portfolio was respected in photography circles. Small galleries, online publications, a few commercial jobs that paid the bills while I pursued my true passion, capturing the beauty of Decay. Willowbrook State Hospital had been on my list for months. Located on the outskirts of Syracuse, New York, the asylum had closed in 1987 after scandals of abuse and neglect. 3,000 patients at its peak, lobotomies, electroshock therapy, isolation in cells. The stories were legendary among urbex photographers. The place was huge, 60 buildings scattered across 400 acres, a maze of hallways, treatment rooms, and dormitories where lost souls had suffered for decades. Perfect for my next series. Forgotten institutions. I already had interest from a gallery in Brooklyn. I just needed the right photos, the ones that told a story, the ones that made you feel something. It was October, 5:30 p.m., the perfect golden light before sunset. I had done my research. Security was minimal, occasional patrols, but nothing serious. Most of the time, the place was abandoned. I just needed 2 hours. Get in, take pictures, get out before it got completely dark. I slid my body through the hole I'd cut in the fence. My backpack, containing my Canon 5D Mark IV, 3 lenses, tripod, flashlights, breathing mask, gloves, fit snugly. On the other side, I stood looking at the complex. The main building rose ahead, 4 stories of red brick with broken windows like empty eyes, vines covering the walls, peeling paint, collapsed balconies, beautiful in a morbid way. I walked toward the main entrance. Metal doors ripped off years ago. The interior was darkness. I took out my flashlight. The beam cut through the gloom, revealing a destroyed lobby. The floor was a landscape of debris, fallen plaster, broken glass, construction rubble. The walls were covered in graffiti, gang tags, obscenities, some quite artistic. The ceiling showed severe water damage, brown stains spreading like bruises. The smell hit me even through my respirator mask. Mold, dampness, something else, sweet, putrid. Probably dead animals. Rats, pigeons, maybe a raccoon that had gotten lost and died. I started taking pictures. First the lobby, compositions of destruction, the collapsed reception desk, scattered chairs, an overturned filing cabinet with paper spilling out, wet, illegible patient records. I moved deeper inside. A hallway stretched into the darkness, doors on both sides. Most were open, revealing small rooms. Cells, really. Each with a metal bed bolted to the floor. Some still had rotten mattresses. Others just the rusted frame. I photographed every room. Natural light from broken windows created dramatic contrasts. Deep shadows, bright highlights. Perfect. In one room, I found straps. Tied to the bed frame. Leather cracked and stiff with age. My stomach turned. These had been used to restrain patients, to keep them still, during treatments, during punishments. I took the photo. The bed, the straps, the broken window with light streaming in. Powerful. Another room had walls covered in scribbles. I looked closer. It wasn't modern graffiti. They were old drawings, made with something dark, dried blood perhaps, or shit. Stick figures, screaming faces, repeated words. Help. Hurts. Mommy. Someone had been here, confined, leaving messages of despair. My flashlight danced over yellowed photos stuck to a wall. I examined them. Old medical photographs, patients in hospital gowns, some chained to chairs, others with shaved heads, prepared for electroshock or lobotomy. Their eyes empty, defeated. Who had left these photos here? Staff who had abandoned them, morbid collectors who had visited before. A chill ran down my spine, not from the cold, from the weight of this place, from the suffering it had witnessed. I photographed the photos, documenting the documentation, layers of history. I continued exploring. The second floor, more rooms, a large common room with destroyed sofas, an industrial kitchen with rusty stoves and huge fallen pots, a dining room with overturned tables. And then I heard something, a scratch, distant, like nails on metal. I froze, listening. Silence. Then again, scratch, scratch, rhythmic. Rats. It had to be rats. This place was probably infested. I tried to laugh, to sound casual, even in my own head, but sweat drenched the back of my neck under my cap. I swore I saw a shadow move at the end of the hallway. Just for a second. Then nothing. Paranoia, I muttered. Just your imagination. But I checked over my shoulder as I moved forward. The feeling of being watched was intense, irrational, but real. I reached the third floor. Here, the structural damage was worse. The floor felt soft in places. I tested each step before putting my full weight on it. One wrong move, and I could fall to the second floor. I found what must have been the treatment wing. Small examination rooms. One had a dentist's chair, old, rusty, with straps on the arms. Another had a slanted metal table with drains. What for? I didn't want to think about it. One room at the end of the hall had a closed door. Unusual. Most were open or torn off. I turned the knob. Locked. I should have left it alone. I should have moved on. But curiosity, that same curiosity that had led me to explore forbidden places, won out. I pushed my shoulder against the door. Once. Twice. On the third push, it gave way, creaking open. The smell that came out was overwhelming, even through my mask. Rot. Death. Something big had died here. I shone my flashlight inside. It was a storage room, shelves with glass jars, most of them broken, their contents spilled years ago, rusty medical equipment, fallen file boxes, and in the corner, a lump wrapped in dirty cloth. My heart was pounding. Was it? No, it couldn't be a body. This place had been abandoned for 30 years. Any body would have decomposed completely. I approached. Slowly, each step deliberate. The flashlight focused on the bundle. I extended my foot. I nudged it lightly. It moved, too light to be a body. I used my boot to move the fabric. Underneath, bones, animal skeleton, large dog or coyote. It had gotten in here, gotten trapped when the door closed, and starved to death. Relief flooded me. Just an animal, not a human. Sad all the same. I took photos, documenting even this, nature reclaiming what humans abandoned. I left the room. I closed the door behind me. I checked my watch. 6:45 p.m. The sun had gone down. The light in the windows was dimmer. Gold was turning to orange. Soon it would be purple. Then darkness. I needed to hurry. I wanted to photograph the basement before I lost light completely. Basements were always the most interesting, where they kept the real horrors. Boiler rooms, maintenance tunnels, storage rooms with old equipment. I found stairs leading down, concrete, wide, dark. I descended carefully. The steps were damp, slippery with something, water, oil. I didn't want to know. The basement was labyrinthine, hallways in multiple directions, exposed pipes on the ceiling, hanging wiring. The floor was cracked concrete with puddles of standing water. My flashlight was my only guide, the beam bouncing off damp walls, creating shadows that moved with every step. I found the boiler room. Huge iron boilers. Decades ago, they were working. Now they were silent monuments. I photographed them. The scale, the industrial geometry. Then I heard voices, distant, muffled, but definitely human voices. My blood ran cold. Security? Other Urbex explorers? I stood still, listening. The voices came from deeper in the basement. I couldn't make out words, just tones, male, multiple. I should have left then, gone upstairs, got out, forgotten the basement. But something, stupidity, curiosity, pushed me forward. Just a peek. See who else was here. I moved toward the voices quietly. I turned off my flashlight, using only the dim light from my phone, enough to see but not draw attention. The hallway curved. I followed the sound. The voice is clearer now. Rough laughter, coughing. I saw light ahead, not electric, firelight, flickering, orange. I peeked around the corner. It was a large room, probably a utility or storage room in its day. Now it was a makeshift camp. There were 5 men, homeless, obviously. Dirty, ragged clothes, long tangled hair, wild beards, sitting around a metal barrel where fire burned. For warmth, for light. They had belongings scattered about, sleeping bags, backpacks, cardboard boxes, empty bottles. This was their home. They had turned this basement into a refuge. I should have backed away quietly. I should have let them live their lives. But my damn photographic curiosity kicked in. This scene, the juxtaposition of human beings living in this building of horror, the fire creating warm light against the cold concrete, would make an incredible photo. I raised my camera. I silenced the shutter sound. I adjusted the settings for low light. I focused. Then I stepped on something. Broken glass. The crunch was like an explosion in the silence. All 5 heads turned toward me, instantly. Like animals alerted to a predator. Shit, I whispered, backing away. But it was too late. One of them, the largest with a scar across his face, stood up. Who's there? No one, I said stupidly. I was just exploring. I didn't know anyone. Exploring? He spat the word. Our house? You came into our fucking house. I'm sorry. I'll leave. I didn't mean to. Too late. Another one stood up. Thinner, but with wild eyes. He pulled something out of his coat. Metal glinted in the firelight. A makeshift knife. A rusty blade tied to a wooden handle. My stomach dropped. Look, I don't want any trouble. I'm just taking pictures. You can have my camera if you want. It's worth money. Just let me... We don't want your camera. The big one, the apparent leader, stepped forward. We want you to understand. This is our territory, not for curious tourists with expensive toys. The others stood up, closing in around me, blocking the exit. Please, my voice was shaking now. I'll just leave. I'll never come back. I promise. I promised. Oaths. The leader laughed without humor. Do you know how many like you come? Taking pictures, treating us like zoo attractions. Look at the homeless living in ruins. It's not like that. I just... Shut up, he roared. His hand grabbed my jacket. He pulled me toward him. His breath, foul, rotten, alcoholic, hit my face. You need to learn respect. They dragged me to their camp. I struggled, but they were stronger. Desperation from living on the streets had made them tough. I was a sedentary photographer. No chance. They pushed me into a metal chair, one of the hospital treatment chairs, brought here. They forced me to sit down while 2 of them held me down. Tie him up, ordered the leader. They used rope, old but strong, around my wrists, around my chest, tying me to the chair. The chair was unstable. One leg was shorter. It rocked with every movement. What do you want? My voice came out high-pitched. Terrified. Money. I have cash in my wallet. Take it. Take everything. This isn't about money. The leader sat down on the box in front of me. He lit a cigarette. Smoke swirled around us. This is about respect. About understanding that you can't walk into someone else's home without consequences. I understand. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You're sorry. He blew smoke in my face. I don't think so. I think you're sorry because we caught you. But if we hadn't caught you, you would have taken your pictures. You would have posted them on the internet. Look at the creepy abandoned asylum. While we, he pointed to his companions, remain invisible, forgotten. He had a point. A horrible, twisted point, but a point nonetheless. I had come for aesthetics, for art. I hadn't thought about the fact that real people might be living here. Surviving. You're right, I admitted. I didn't think. I was selfish. But please, just let me go. I won't take any photos. Not even the ones I already took. I'll delete them, right in front of you. You'll delete them? The thin one with the knife laughed. How do we know you don't have copies, cloud storage, backups? I don't. I swear No more swearing. The leader stood up abruptly. I'm tired of swearing. You need to understand real consequences. He pulled out his own knife. Not improvised. Real. Hunting blade. Sharp. Glinting in the firelight. Panic choked me. What are you going to do? Teach you. He moved closer, the blade grazing my throat. Cold. Pressing hard enough to feel but not cut. About invasion. About respect. I felt my heart pounding like a caged hammer, each beat echoing in my ears. My breathing. Fast. Shallow. Hyperventilating. No. Please. I have family. A sister. Nephews. Please. We all have family. His voice soft now. Almost gentle. More terrifying than his rage. I had a wife. A daughter. I lost them. I lost everything. And no one cried for me. No one took pictures of my suffering for their damn art portfolios. The knife pressed harder. I felt skin break. Warm blood trickling down my neck. Wait, I shouted. I can help. Money. I can bring money, food, whatever you need. We don't want your charity. But he removed the knife, leaving only a superficial cut. We want you to understand fear, like we understand fear every night. Wondering if we'll wake up, if someone will attack us, rob us, kill us. He left me there, bleeding, shaking, crying without shame. The five of them sat down, drinking from bottles, sharing cigarettes, talking casually as if I wasn't tied up 5 meters away. I lost track of time. How long was I there? 30 minutes. An hour. The chair beneath me creaked with every shift in weight. Unstable. The floor beneath it also felt bad. Soft. As if it could give way. God. If the floor collapsed. If I fell with the chair. Tied up. Helpless. I would die here. I tried to calm down. To think. To plan. The ropes were tight, but maybe if I worked on them. I moved my wrists. Slowly. Testing. The rope scraped my skin. But there was something. A loose nail in the arm of the chair. Sticking out. Sharp. If I could position the rope against it. Saw back and forth. Maybe. I worked silently. Millimeter by millimeter. Every movement small so as not to attract attention. The nail cutting through the fibers of the rope. The men continued drinking, their conversation growing louder, more careless. One began to snore, fallen asleep by the fire. The rope was weakening. I could feel it. Some strands breaking. I needed more time. Just a little more. Then the leader got up, stretched. I'm going to take a piss. Keep an eye on the photographer. He left the room, leaving 4. 1 asleep, 2 drinking and half conscious. 1, the one with the knife, looking at me but his eyes glazed over. Drunk. This was my chance. Maybe my only chance. I pulled hard. The ropes on my wrists. The pain, skin tearing. But it gave way. 1 hand free. I quickly worked on the other. On the ropes around my chest. Hey! The one with the knife noticed. He's breaking free. But I was already free. Standing. The chair fell behind me with a crash. I ran. Not back the way I came. The leader was there. The other way. Where the hallway continued into darkness. Stop him! Shouts behind me. Footsteps. Heavy. Clumsy but determined. I ran blindly. Hands outstretched. Touching walls. Bumping into pipes. Stumbling over debris. My flashlight on the floor near the chair. No light except the dim light of my memory and adrenaline. The hallway turned. I turned with it. Stairs. Going up. I took 2 steps at a time. I slipped. I fell. Knees hitting concrete, pain exploding. But I got up. I kept going. Up. To the first floor. Moonlight through broken windows. Enough to see, to orient myself. But where was I? The building was a maze. Multiple wings. Hundreds of rooms. I heard screams below, still chasing me. "We'll find you. You can't hide." I ran through hallways. Every creaking door was a heartbeat of terror. Every shadow could be one of them. I found stairs again. Climbing. 2nd floor. 3rd. I lost my bearings. I reached a large room. A common room. I remembered it from the beginning, which meant the exit was close. 1st floor. East side. I ran down different stairs. My lungs burned. My side stitched. My legs trembled. There. The lobby. I could see it. Moonlight illuminating the entrance. 50 meters. 40. 30. Someone appeared from a side hallway. The leader. Faster than expected, blocking my way. Don't even think about it. He had his knife. Ready. I looked for an alternative. A window. Broken. Low. I could jump through it. I turned, ran towards it, jumped. Broken glass scraping my back, landing on grass outside, rolling. I got up, running, across the field, towards the fence. Where I had entered, behind me, shouts, "Come back here, you son of a bitch." But I didn't look back. I just ran, faster than I had ever run in my life. The fence, there, the hole I had cut. I squeezed through. The fabric of my jacket snagging, tearing, but I got through, on the other side. I ran to my car, parked on a dirt road a 1/4 mile away. There, my Honda. I searched my pocket for keys. They were there. Miraculously, I hadn't lost them. I unlocked it, got in, started it. The engine roared to life. It had never sounded so beautiful. I accelerated, gravel flying, away from Willowbrook State Hospital, away from the men who almost killed me. I drove non-stop until I reached Syracuse, to a hospital, urgent care. I told them I had been assaulted, close to the truth. They treated my neck, stitches, 6, my knees bandaged. Cuts on my hands. They gave me antibiotics, advice to report it to the police. I didn't. What would I say? I broke into abandoned property, and the men who lived there scared me. I was the criminal, the intruder. They were just defending their home the only way they knew how. I drove home, Albany, 3 hours. I arrived at my apartment at dawn. I took a shower, hot water washing away blood, dirt, the smell of the asylum, but I couldn't wash away the fear, the trauma, the realization of how close I had come to dying. I checked my camera. Miraculously, it was still in my backpack. The photos were there. Of the asylum, before the encounter. I looked at them on my computer. They were good, some excellent. The compositions I had sought, the story I wanted to tell, but I couldn't look at them without seeing those men, without feeling the knife at my throat, without hearing their voices chasing me. I deleted everything, every photo, from the camera, from the computer, from everything. My gallery in Brooklyn asked about the series. Forgotten institutions, when it would be ready. Change of plans, I told them, moving in a different direction. I never did urbex photography again. I couldn't. The appeal was gone, replaced by knowledge of real consequences, of real people living in those ruins, of real dangers beyond unstable floors and asbestos. The scars on my neck healed, the physical ones, the ones on my psyche remain. I can't enter abandoned buildings without feeling panic. Classrooms, basements, any space that reminds me of that place. And sometimes I wake up with nightmares, of the leader with his knife, of the sound of footsteps chasing me, of being tied to that unstable chair, feeling the floor give way beneath me, falling into endless darkness. Now I photograph landscapes, nature, beautiful things in daylight, nothing abandoned, nothing with a dark history, because I learned that some places are abandoned for a reason, and some horrors don't need ghosts to be terrifying. They just need human despair and the darkness we find when we are pushed to the limit. Willowbrook State Hospital is still there, still abandoned, still home to those who have nowhere else to go. And every photo I take since then makes me look back, because the echo of that asylum still whispers my name, reminding me that some explorations come at a higher price than just my time. They come at the price of my innocence, my sense of security, my belief that my art was worth any risk. I was wrong, and I almost paid with my life. The crooked sign read, "Danger, no entry," but the howl of wind through the broken chimneys called to me like a siren. I pushed open the metal door, which groaned like a lament, and dust stung my eyes. Just a quick look, I thought, adrenaline buzzing through my veins. My name is Caledonia Price, but everyone calls me Cal. 22 years old, communication student at Penn State, obsessed with documentaries about abandoned places. I had seen hundreds on YouTube, empty factories, closed hospitals, ghost towns, each one telling a story of rise and fall, of lives that once filled those spaces. And I always thought, someday I'll find mine, the perfect place, the story no one else has told. The Hartwell Textile Mill was that story. Located on the outskirts of Scranton, Pennsylvania, the factory had closed in 1992 after what the newspapers called the accident. 37 workers were killed when a boiler exploded during the night shift. The investigation revealed massive negligence, delayed maintenance, safety violations, managers ignoring warnings. The company went bankrupt. The place was abandoned. 30 years of silence. Perfect for my senior documentary. I already had the title, Broken Threads, The Tragedy of Hartwell. I just needed the footage, the shots that would tell the story visually. It was November, 3 p.m. on a gray Wednesday. I'd done my research. No active security, just fences that teenagers had cut years ago. The surrounding area was industrial wasteland. Other empty warehouses, abandoned lots, no neighborhood watch. Perfect. I parked my Honda Civic 2 blocks away. I walked with my backpack, video camera, tripod, flashlights, extra batteries, respirator mask, gloves, all the responsible urban explorer gear. The fence had multiple holes. I chose one hidden by weeds. I slipped through, tearing my jacket on the wire but getting through. The complex was huge. 4-story main building, red brick darkened by decades of soot, chimneys rising like accusing fingers, broken windows revealing darkness inside, smaller annex buildings connected by covered walkways that had partially collapsed. Beautiful in a desolate way. I could already imagine the shots. The drone shot over the complex. I would need to come back with my drone. Close-ups of broken windows. The interior with dramatic natural light. I approached the main entrance, metal doors with a chain and padlock, but the chain was rusted. I pulled. It broke easily. The doors opened with an echoing creak. Inside, darkness. I took out my flashlight. The beam cut through the gloom, revealing an industrial lobby. The floor was cracked concrete, brick walls with peeling paint. A wall clock stopped at 11:47, the time of the accident. Creepy if it was true. The smell hit me even with a mask. Mold, dampness, rust. Something else, sweet, chemical, probably decades of solvents and textile dyes seeping into the structures. I started recording, first the lobby, then moving deeper. A wide hallway led to the main factory floor, double doors, one hanging from one hinge, the other torn off. I pushed through, and the space opened up. The factory floor was massive, maybe 200 feet long, 50 feet wide, high ceiling with exposed beams, industrial windows in the walls, most broken letting wind in, causing loose papers to swirl, and the machines, dozens of them, industrial textile looms, huge, complex, metal frames with thousands of gears, pulleys, spools, all covered in rust, cobwebs so dense they looked like their own fabric. Some looms still had threads, rotten, darkened, but visible. I started recording, walking slowly between the machines, capturing their scale, their decay, the strange beauty of industrial decay. Then I noticed the floor. Beneath the dust and debris, dark stains, many of them, scattered in patterns. I knelt down, examining one. Dark brown, absorbed into the concrete. Too extensive to be just rust. Blood. It had to be blood. From 30 years ago. From the accident. A chill ran through me. I was walking where people had died, dozens, on a horrible night. I recorded the stains, documenting. But my initial enthusiasm was mixing with something else, unease, as if I were desecrating something sacred. I moved deeper into the floor. One section had industrial sewing machines, rows of them on long tables, chairs still positioned, as if the workers had simply disappeared. At one station I found something, a metal lunchbox, rusty. I opened it. Inside, the remains of a mummified sandwich, an apple reduced to a brown peel, a laminated photo, family, young parents with 2 children. Who had this person been? Did they survive? Or was their lunchbox left here after they died? I photographed everything, but my hands were shaking slightly. A sound stopped me, metallic, a click followed by a squeak. It came from deeper inside the factory floor. "Hello," I called, my voice sounding small in the huge space. "Is anyone there?" Silence. Then the wind, howling through the broken windows. Just wind. I continued. The next area had larger machines, presses, boilers, the equipment that had exploded. Some were completely destroyed, twisted metal, burn marks on the ceiling above, the epicenter of the accident. I photographed them. The perfect angle, light streaming through a broken window, illuminating the destroyed metal, dramatic, powerful. Then another sound, louder, a rhythmic click, 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 like gears moving. I turned around. One of the looms, 20 meters away, was moving, the pulleys turning slowly, the spools unwinding. My heart raced. What the hell? It couldn't be working. There was no electricity. The place had been dead for 30 years. I approached, slowly, the camera still rolling. This was documentary gold, although I had no idea what was causing it. The loom continued its movement. Click, 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 the gears squeaking, rust falling like metallic rain. Then I saw it, a pulley connected to the window, the wind pushing through, causing the pulley to turn, connected by old belts to the loom's gears, the wind literally driving the machine. Relief flooded me. Rational explanation, just physics, wind and levers. But then another loom started, and another, as if the first had awakened its neighbors, the sound multiplying. Click, 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 squeak, the clang of metal against metal. The din froze my blood. It wasn't one loom, it was dozens, an entire section of the factory floor coming to life. The chains moving on their own, as if the factory were breathing. I backed away, the camera still in my hand, but forgetting to record. The noise was overwhelming, unnatural. As if the place were awakening from a long sleep. I needed to get out. This was too much, too loud, too strange. I turned to run, and my foot caught on something, a loose cable on the floor, snaking out from one of the machines. It tangled around my ankle. I fell hard, my hands hitting concrete, the camera slipping from my grip, sliding several feet, sharp pain in my knees, skin scraping on the rough cement. Shit. I tried to get up, but the cable was tight, coiled around my leg. I pulled. It only tightened more. Panic began to rise. I was trapped, surrounded by machines that moved on their own, the deafening noise. I worked on the cable, clumsy fingers and gloves, untwisting it. Finally, it loosened. I freed my leg. I got up, my knees screaming. I could feel blood soaking through my jeans, but it didn't matter. I needed to get out. I grabbed my camera. I ran back to where I had entered, but in my panic, I took the wrong direction. I ended up in another section, more machines, more darkness. Shit, shit, shit. I turned around, trying to get my bearings. The floor was a maze, machines and support pillars blocking lines of sight. Then I heard something that wasn't the machines. Voices. Human, male, coming from deeper inside the factory. I froze. People. Here. Did you hear that? Fragments came over the noise of the machines. Someone on the floor. Check. Security. Other explorers. Homeless people living here. I should have identified myself, shouted that I was a student, that I didn't want any trouble, but something in the tone of those voices, rough, angry, stopped me. I hid behind a large loom, crouching, trying to control my breathing. Footsteps. Multiple. Heavy boots on concrete, getting closer. I saw movement over here. A voice, clearer now. Probably rats. There are always rats. No, something bigger. They were getting closer to my position. I could see shadows moving between the machines. 3 figures, emerging from the depths of the factory floor. My heart was pounding, every muscle tense, ready to run. Then I saw them fully. 3 men, 50, 60 years old, wearing overalls, blue, worn, stained with God knows what, each carrying something. Iron bars, pipe wrenches, tools turned into weapons. There, one pointed, straight at me. He had seen me. I ran, adrenaline rush, away from them, zigzagging between machines. Stop! Shouts behind me. Thief! Soul thief! Soul thief? What the hell did that mean? We're not going to hurt you. We just want to talk. But the tone said otherwise. Threat. Barely contained violence. I ran toward what I thought was the exit. But the floor was confusing. Every section looked the same. Machines, pillars, darkness. I found stairs, metal, climbing. I took 2 steps at a time, up to the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor was different, smaller. Offices and storage rooms, less light, more claustrophobic. I heard boots on the stairs behind me, still chasing me. You can't hide. We know every inch of this factory. I ran down a hallway, doors on both sides. I tried one. Locked. Another. Open. I went in. Storage room full of shelves with rotten boxes. I hid behind shelves. Heavy breathing, trying to be quiet. The footsteps passed. They stopped. He's somewhere on this floor. Find him. They scattered, opening doors, searching. I needed a plan. I couldn't just hide forever. Eventually, they would find me. And those men, something was wrong with them. The way they talked, the overalls. Soul thief. Were they ex-workers? Had they been coming here for 30 years? Living here? A door nearby opened, footsteps entering the room next to mine. I needed to move. I quietly left my hiding place, toward the door. I opened it a crack. The hallway was empty. I went out, toward the stairs, but not the ones I had used. Others at the end of the hallway. I went down, slowly, quietly, back to the 1st floor, but a different section. I found myself in an area that looked like a cafeteria, long tables, scattered chairs, an industrial kitchen in the back, and something else. Signs of recent habitation, boxes of food, bottles of water, sleeping bags rolled up in the corner, a small generator. They lived here, those men. This was their home, and on the wall, photos, dozens, pinned up with thumbtacks, old photos of the factory in its heyday, workers on the floor, smiling, posing next to their machines, and new photos, podroids, of people, faces I didn't recognize, some clearly frightened, others unconscious. My God, what had they done? Here it is, the voice behind me. I turned around. The 3 men blocking the entrance to the cafeteria, smiling now, not friendly, predatory. Who are you? Asked the leader, 60-something, wild gray beard, scar across his forehead. What are you doing in our factory? I was just exploring, taking photos, for a school documentary. I didn't know anyone. Our factory, he repeated. We work here. 30 years, 40, our whole lives. And then what? Let us die in an explosion. Fire us without pensions? Forget us? I'm sorry. I didn't know. You don't know anything, he spat. People like you, coming in, taking pictures, treating us like a curiosity, like a museum. It's not like that. I just want to tell the story, our story, he roared. Are you worthy of telling our story? The other two moved, flanking me, cutting off my escape. You need to understand, said one, thinner, sunken eyes. You need to see what we saw, feel what we felt. They grabbed me, strong hands on my arms. They dragged me. I struggled, but they were strong. Decades of manual labor had made them tough as wire. They took me back to the factory floor, to a section I hadn't seen, where the biggest machines were, the hydraulic presses. One was relatively intact, huge, 2 metal plates, top and bottom, hydraulic system with a lever. Used to press fabrics, apply even pressure, apply pressure that could crush bones. They pushed me against the press, my back against the bottom plate. Cold, oily, smelling of metal and rancid chemicals. Do you know how many died on these machines? Asked the leader. Before the explosion, accidents, crushed hands, torn off arms. And the bosses did nothing. They just replaced the workers. Please, my voice trembled. I don't want any trouble, just let me go. Let you go, he considered. Like they let us go? No job, no future? One of them, the one in the most worn-out overalls, grabbed my arm, twisting it behind my back. The pain exploded, sharp. I thought he would break it. I screamed. There, he said softly. Now you understand. Pain, what we live with every day. The leader went to the lever of the press. He inspected it. It still works, you know, hydraulic. Doesn't need electricity, just manual pressure. No. We're going to teach you, he continued, about pressure, about what it feels like to be trapped, crushed by forces you can't control. He began to operate the lever. The hydraulic system hissed, life after decades. The top plate began to descend. Terror paralyzed me. I was lying on the bottom plate. The top plate was slowly coming down. If I didn't move, if I didn't escape, it would crush me. Wait, I shouted. Don't do this. I have a family, people who will miss me. We all have families, said the leader. His voice was strangely calm. They died here, or they broke, and no one cared. The plate continued to descend. I could see stains on the metal, rust, black oil dripping, 30 years of neglect, but still functional. Still deadly. Please, I sobbed now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what happened. For what the company did, but it wasn't me. It's not my fault. No. The leader paused. The plate was maybe half a meter from my chest. It's not your fault, but you are a witness. You will see. You will remember. He activated it further. The plate descended. 40 centimeters, 30, 20. I felt the cold metal pressing against my chest now. Not crushing yet, just pressure, but increasing. Every second more. My breathing became shallow. Total claustrophobia. The metal above me, blocking light, blocking air. The stench of oil and sweat. The sound of hydraulics. My heart pounding so hard I thought it would explode before the press crushed me. Do you feel that? The leader's voice, distant. The weight, the helplessness. That's how we live, every day. Pressure, no escape. 6 inches, 4. I couldn't breathe. My chest constricted. Panic consumed me. And then, a sound, different, an alarm, distant but clear, piercing. The 3 men froze. What the hell is that? One asked. Intruder alarm. East side. Police? I don't know. Go check. One ran off. The other 2 exchanged nervous glances. In their distraction, I acted. My right hand, free for a moment when the one holding me moved to see what was happening, found something in my pocket, my multi-tool knife. I pulled it out. I opened the largest blade and I stabbed it into the arm of the guy who was still holding me. He screamed. He let go of me, backing away. I rolled away from the press, falling to the floor beside it, the top plate passing so close that I felt the air displace. I got up, running. Back toward where I remembered the exit was. "Stop!" Shouts behind me, heavy footsteps. But I was younger, faster, full of pure adrenaline. I reached a window, large, broken, at floor level, my only chance. Without thinking, I jumped through, remaining glass cutting my hands, my arms, my face, multiple sharp pains. But I got through. I landed on grass outside, rolling, getting up immediately, the echo of their curses chasing me. "Come back. You haven't learned anything. Come back." But I kept running. Across the field, toward the fence, my lungs burning, blood dripping from dozens of cuts. I reached the fence, the hole. I squeezed through, more scratches, more pain. It didn't matter. On the other side, running down the street toward my car, there, my Honda. I searched for keys, shaking hands, slippery with blood. I dropped them. I picked them up, second try, unlocked. I got in. I started the engine. It roared. I looked in the rearview mirror. The 3 men had come out of the factory, standing by the fence, watching, not chasing, just watching, as if they knew I would return, or that others would come. I accelerated, away from Hartwell Textile Mill, away from that nightmarish place. I drove straight to a hospital, emergency room. I told them I had fallen through a window. I didn't mention the factory, the men, nothing. They cleaned me up, 32 stitches total, on my hands, arms, face, antibiotics, tetanus shot. "You're lucky," the nurse said. "The wounds could have been worse, nothing vital cut." Lucky. Yeah, I guess so. I retrieved my camera, still in my backpack. I checked the footage. It was all there. The factory floor, the machines, the bloodstains. But not the men, not the encounter. The camera had stopped recording when I fell. Would I use it? For my documentary? Part of me wanted to. The evidence was powerful. The story was real. But another part, the part that still felt the hydraulic press pressing against my chest, that still heard their voices, couldn't. I deleted everything, like I had done after the asylum, but this time for a different reason. Not for fear of being found, out of respect. Because those men, crazy, violent, dangerous as they were right about something. It wasn't my story to tell. Not like that. Not without really understanding, and I would never understand. Not completely. I changed my documentary topic. I did something on the environmental impact of rapid manufacturing. Research, interviews, no physical exploration. I got a B instead of an A. It didn't matter, the scars healed, most of them. Some remain, thin lines on my hands, my forearm, reminders. But the mental scars are worse. I can't hear industrial noise without feeling panic. Machinery, gears, hydraulics, anything that sounds like that factory. My roommate, Evander, has a workshop in the garage. He works with metal, welds, uses a press brake. The first few months after the incident, every time he turned it on, I would wake up in a sweat, panic attacking me even in my sleep. "Dude, are you okay?" he asked me once. "Every time I use the tools, you turn pale." "Just bad memories," I lied. "An accident I had." I couldn't explain, not completely. How do you tell someone you were almost crushed by crazy men clinging to a dead factory like ghosts protecting a grave? A year passed, then 2. Gradually, the panic attacks subsided. I could hear machinery without breaking down. I could look at photos of factories without shaking, but I never went urban exploring again. That chapter was closed, permanently, because I learned something that afternoon in Hartwell. Abandoned places aren't really empty. They carry echoes, memories, and sometimes people who can't let go. People who protect those places with violence, who see intruders as thieves of history, of memory, of souls. And they're right. in their twisted way. Entering those places without understanding the weight, the real suffering that happened there, is theft of something sacred. Hartwell Textile Mill is still there. I checked on Google Maps 6 months ago. Still abandoned, still deteriorating. And those men, I don't know, probably still there, living among the machines, protecting their territory, waiting for the next curious explorer. Part of me wants to report it. To the police, to someone. Those men are dangerous. They almost killed me. But another part understands. I don't justify their actions, but I understand the pain that drives them, the loss, the rage against the system that used and discarded them. So I do nothing except carry the scars. And remember, every mechanical noise in Evander's workshop makes me pause, just for a second. My body remembering the press, the pressure, the terror of being trapped. And in those moments, I hear their voices, the men of Hartwell, whispering across the years. Now you understand, now you see. And the answer is yes, I understand. Not completely, never completely, but enough. Enough to know that some places are better left untouched. Some stories are better told from a distance, with respect, with humility, because the factory never sleeps. Its machines still turn with the wind. Its ghosts, human, very human, still walk its halls. And if you listen carefully on windy nights, you can hear the click, click, click of ancient looms, the hiss of hydraulics, the cries of those who never left. I entered St. Michael's Psychiatric Hospital at midnight, armed only with my flashlight, looking for photos for my urban exploration blog. What I didn't know was that someone else had been waiting in the dark. My name is Thessaly Ward, 25 years old, freelance photographer and urban explorer in Savannah, Georgia. I had been documenting abandoned places in the South for 2 years, ruined plantations, tuberculosis sanatoriums, closed asylums. My Instagram had 50,000 followers who lived for those images of Gothic decay. St. Michael's was my white whale, the place everyone in the Urbex community talked about, but few dared to enter. Closed in 1994 after scandals involving abuse and unethical experimentation on psychiatric patients, lobotomies performed without consent, electroshock therapy as punishment, patients tied to beds for weeks. The court cases lasted for years. When it finally closed, the place was completely abandoned. 30 years of silence. The building stood on the outskirts of Savannah, surrounded by oak trees covered in Spanish moss. 4 stories of red brick with arched windows. Once beautiful, now just eerie. It was March. A full moon provided natural light. I had done my research. No security, no alarms. Just a rusty fence the teenagers had cut through years ago. My equipment: Canon EOS R5, 3 lenses, tripod, 2 powerful LED flashlights, respirator mask, gloves, first aid kit, and my fully charged phone. Professional, prepared. I parked my Subaru half a mile away on a dirt road. I walked the rest of the way. The fence had a hole big enough. I slipped through, tearing my sweatshirt on rusty wire, but getting through. The grounds were wild. Knee-high grass, trees encroaching. The original path to the building barely visible. The main entrance had rotten wooden doors. I pushed. They opened with a groan that echoed in the night. Inside, total darkness. I took out my flashlight. The beam revealed a large lobby. Collapsed reception desk, overturned chairs, papers everywhere, wet, illegible medical records. The ceiling was leaking, puddles of stagnant water on the floor. The smell hit me even with a mask. Black mold, rotten wood, something else, sweet, organic, probably dead animals in the walls. I started taking pictures, first the lobby, dramatic compositions with moonlight coming in through broken windows, then moving deeper. A hallway stretched into the darkness, doors on both sides, patient rooms. I walked slowly, my footsteps echoing, too loud. as if the building amplified every sound. The rooms were small, cells really, each with a metal bed bolted to the floor. Some still had rotten mattresses, most just rusted frames. I photographed methodically. Each room told a story. In one, someone had scrawled on the wall, "Help me, Mom, I'm not crazy." The letters uneven, desperate. In another, leather straps hung from the bed frame, used to restrain violent patients, or simply patients that the nurses found annoying. The dust was thick. Even with a mask, I could feel it in my throat, every breath rasping, the air stale with decades of neglect. I reached the end of the hallway, stairs going up and down. I decided to go up first, to the second floor. The second floor was worse, more structural damage. The ceiling had collapsed in sections. Rainwater had created an indoor garden, grass growing from the floor, moss on the walls. More rooms. These were larger, treatment rooms. I found one with a rusty dentist's chair, straps on the arms, dental instruments scattered, drills, forceps, cracked mirrors, dental treatment, or torture in disguise. I photographed everything. The perfect composition, chair in the center, moonlight streaming in from a broken window, creating dramatic shadows. Then I saw something on the wall, carved into the plaster. A list of names, dozens, with dates, 1987, 1993, and next to each name, a word. Failed. 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 My stomach churned. What did it mean? Patients who died during treatment, experiments that didn't work. I photographed the list. Important documentation, evidence of horrors that happened here. I continued exploring. I found the hydrotherapy room, large bathtubs where patients were submerged in ice water for hours. Treatment for hysteria and mania. Then the electroshock room. Machine still there. Wires hanging. Chair with straps. Bite guard discarded on the floor. How many brains had been fried in that chair? How many memories erased? The echo of my footsteps continued to bother me. Each step sounded multiplied, as if someone else were walking, synchronizing their steps with mine. I stopped. I listened. Silence. Only wind through broken windows. Creaks from the building settling. Paranoia, I told myself. Just your imagination. But the feeling of being watched persisted. That itch between my shoulder blades. That primitive instinct that says, predator nearby. I continued to the third floor. Here, the darkness was deeper. Fewer intact windows. My flashlight was the only light. The hallway stretched out, longer than the previous floors. Closed doors on both sides. I tried one. Locked. Another. Open. It was an operating room. Surgical table in the center. Circular lights hanging from the ceiling. Surgical instruments scattered about. Scalpels, saws, retractors. All rusted, stained, and in the corner. A wheelchair, turned on its side. Old rusty chrome metal, cracked leather seat. I approached it. I examined it. Perfect for a photo. I positioned it, not overturned, sitting normally. In the center of the room under the lights. As I moved it, I heard something. A click. Metallic, like a mechanism activating. I froze. And what was that? Silence. Then, a distant noise, like something rolling, wheels on the floor. My heart raced. Another wheelchair, moving, gravity, sloping floor. It had to be that. This building was deteriorating. The floor was probably not level. I photographed the chair, the room, the instruments. My hand was shaking slightly. I adjusted the settings to compensate. Then I heard footsteps, clear, unmistakable. Above, fourth floor. I wasn't alone. Panic began to rise. Security? Another Urbex explorer, homeless. I should have left then. Got out. Forgotten about the fourth floor. But curiosity, that same stupid curiosity that had gotten me into trouble before, won out. I needed to know who else was here. And if they were hostile, better to know now than be surprised later. I found stairs to the fourth floor. I climbed slowly, quietly. I turned off my flashlight, using only my phone's light, dim but enough to keep from tripping. The fourth floor smelled different, not just mold, something fresher. Cigarette smoke, rotten food, signs of recent habitation. The hallway was darker. Only one window at the end, moonlight barely reaching it. The doors here were different, heavier, metal, with small windows with bars, isolation cells for more dangerous patients. I walked slowly, checking each cell. The first one was empty, the second one too, the third one. There was something inside, a lump in the corner, wrapped in blankets. A sleeping person. My breathing quickened. I backed away quietly. I didn't want to wake them, whoever they were. But then the figure moved, turning around, and I saw. It wasn't a sleeping person. It was a pile of clothes, bags, belongings. Someone lived here. They had turned this cell into a makeshift home. Where were they now? The footsteps I had heard. A sound behind me. I turned. Nothing. Just the darkness of the hallway. But then I saw it. Movement. A shadow separating from other shadows. A human shape, moving fast, toward me. I ran, pure instinct, back toward the stairs. My flashlight bouncing off my backpack. Heavy footsteps behind me, fast, gaining ground. "Stop!" A male voice, rough, angry. "This is my home." I didn't stop. I reached the stairs. I took 3 steps at a time. I almost fell. I grabbed the handrail. Rusty, cutting my palm, but no time to care. The 3rd floor. I ran down the hallway, back the way I came, toward the exit. But the hospital was a maze. Every hallway looked the same in the dark. I turned the wrong corner, ended up in a different wing. Behind me, the sound. Wheels squeaking, metallic, rhythmic, getting closer. Wheelchair? Was he chasing me in a wheelchair? I found another staircase. I went down, 2nd floor. I needed to reach the 1st floor, the exit. But then he was there, blocking the stairs. A man in his 40s, long, greasy hair, wild beard, tattered clothes, and in his hands, a metal bar, a plumbing pipe ripped from somewhere. "You shouldn't be here," he said. His voice calmer now, more terrifying. "No one should be here, except me." "I'm just leaving," I said, my voice shaking. "I don't want any trouble. I'm just taking pictures." "Photos." He spat the word. "Everyone comes for photos, for excitement, without respect, without understanding." "I understand. This place has a terrible history. I respect that." "You don't understand," he roared, slamming the bar against the wall, the sound echoing. "This isn't an amusement park. It's my refuge, my sanctuary, and you invade." I backed away, looking for an alternative escape. Window, door, anything. "They treated me here," he continued, calmer again. "Years ago, before it closed, they said I was sick, that I needed help. They tied me up. They drugged me. They did things to me." "I'm sorry," I whispered. "That's horrible. But please let me. I can't let you go. Not until you understand. Not until you feel what I felt." He moved toward me. I backed toward the operating room, the one with the wheelchair. Mistake. He had me cornered. I entered the room, backing away. He blocked the only exit. "Sit down," he ordered, pointing to the wheelchair. "No." "Sit down." He raised the bar, threatening. I sat down, my hands shaking, the chair cold, the cracked leather scraping my skin through my jeans. "Like this," he said. "This is how it starts. They sit you down. They tie you up. And then," he took something out of his pocket, rope. "They secure you. Please don't do this." Ignoring me, he began to tie my wrists to the armrests. Tight rope, cutting off circulation. My mind raced. How to escape. Scream. No one would hear me. We were miles from anyone. Fight. He was bigger, stronger, and he had a gun. I needed time. I needed him to be distracted. "What did they do to you?" I asked. "Here, in the hospital." He stopped, looking at me. "Do you want to know?" "Yes. I want to understand. Document. Tell your story." "My story. He laughed, without humor. They said I had schizophrenia, paranoid. Maybe they were right, maybe not, but their treatment made everything worse. What did they do? Electroshock, 3 times a week. They strapped me to a chair, like this one. They put electrodes on my head, and then fire, electric fire burning my brain, convulsing, biting down on a mouthguard until my teeth broke. God, I whispered, genuine horror mingling with my fear. That's torture. It was. And the drugs. They turned me into a zombie. I couldn't think, I couldn't feel, I just existed. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Are you sorry? He leaned close, his breath stale, rotten. Or are you just saying what you think I want to hear? I'm genuinely sorry. What they did to you was wrong, criminal. He considered this. Then he nodded. Maybe you believe that. He loosened the rope slightly. My chance. I pulled my hands free, and I pushed hard, the wheelchair rolling backwards, knocking into him, tripping him. I got up, I ran. Toward the door, toward the hallway. No. His shout behind me. I ran without direction, just away. The hallway forked, left, right. I chose left. Bad choice. I ended up in a dead-end wing, day room for patients, large, rotten sofas, empty bookshelves, and only one exit, the way I had come in. I heard his heavy breathing, getting closer. I hid behind a large sofa, crouching, trying to control my breathing. My heart was beating so hard I was sure he could hear it. He entered the room, slowly, methodically. I know you're here. You're just making this harder. His footsteps, walking around the room, checking behind every piece of furniture. I needed a distraction. My hand found debris, a piece of plaster. I threw it toward the opposite corner. The sound of impact. He turned, walking toward where it had fallen. I moved, silently, toward the door, almost there. Old trick. He turned, he saw me, he ran. But I was closer. I reached the hallway first. I ran. This time, I paid attention, following signs to the exit. Main staircase, lobby, freedom. I went down the stairs, he behind me, shouting obscenities, threats. First floor, lobby ahead, moonlight through the windows. Beautiful, saving. I ran toward the main doors, already half open, as I had left them. Almost there. 10 meters. 5. Something grabbed me. Hand on my backpack, pulling me back. I let go of the straps, the backpack falling. With my camera, all my photos. But it didn't matter. Only survival mattered. Free. I ran through the doors. Outside. Cool night air. It had never smelled so good. I ran across the field. Toward the fence. I didn't look back. Only forward. I reached the fence. The hole. I squeezed through. Wire cutting into my back. My shoulder. But I made it through. On the other side. I ran to where I'd parked. Half a mile never felt so long. Finally, my Subaru. Keys still in my pocket. Thank God. I got in, started the engine, accelerated without warming it up, driving away down the dirt road. Gravel flying, only when I reached the main road. Traffic, civilization. Only then did I allow myself to exhale. I drove straight home, my apartment in downtown Savannah. I arrived at dawn, shaking, exhausted. I showered, hot water washing away dirt, sweat, fear. But I couldn't wash away the feeling of his hands, his breath, his madness. I tried to sleep. I couldn't. Every sound, the building settling, traffic outside, made me jump. At noon, I gave up. I got up, made coffee, tried to process. I had lost my camera, my backpack, thousands of dollars worth of equipment. But I was alive. That mattered. Then I remembered. My phone. I had taken some photos with it at first, before switching to my main camera. I grabbed it, opened the gallery. There, 10 photos of the lobby, the hallways, the first rooms. I looked through them. Decent compositions. Not as good as with my professional camera, but something. Then I got to the last photo, the treatment room on the second floor, with the dentist's chair. I looked closer, and my blood ran cold. In the background, in the dark corner, barely visible, a silhouette, human, standing, watching. It had been there when I took that photo at 12:15 a.m. according to the timestamp. It had been watching me from the beginning, from the moment I walked in, following me, stalking me, waiting for the moment to strike. I hadn't been alone since I walked through those doors. It had been there, every step, every photo. Every moment I thought I was safe in that cursed building. My hands shook so violently that I dropped my phone. It crashed onto the wooden floor. The screen cracked. I picked it up, my hands still shaking. I deleted the photo. Then all the photos from that night. I didn't want any reminders. I didn't want any evidence. I didn't report the incident. What would I say? I broke in illegally, and a homeless person scared me. I was the criminal, the intruder. Just like he said. I closed my Urbex blog. I stopped exploring. I sold my remaining photography equipment. Now I work in a studio, portraits, weddings, corporate events. Nothing abandoned, nothing dark. But sometimes, on quiet nights, I hear wheels squeaking, metal on floor, and I wake up sweating, heart racing, looking for an exit in the darkness of my own room. Because I know he's still there, at St. Michael's, waiting, watching, ready for the next curious explorer who thinks an abandoned hospital is just a backdrop for pretty pictures. And I wonder how many have gone in since then, how many have seen the silhouette in their photos, how many escaped, and how many didn't. The abandoned toy factory on the outskirts of town promised forgotten treasures. But when I saw hundreds of glass eyes staring at me from the mold-covered shelves, I knew I had awakened something worse than memories. My name is Zenobia Cross, 28 years old, collector of antique toys and eBay seller. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, scraping by on thin margins, buying cheap and selling for profit. The Wonderland Toy Company had closed in 1989 after what the newspapers called the incident. A fire, 17 workers dead. The company went bankrupt. The building was abandoned. But before the fire, Wonderland had been one of the largest doll and toy manufacturers in the Midwest. Its products, especially the porcelain dolls from the 1960s, were now worth thousands on the collector's market. And rumors persisted that when they evacuated the factory after the fire, they left inventory behind. Thousands of dollars in forgotten merchandise. My kind of place. It was October, 2 p.m. on a cloudy Saturday. I had done my research. No security. The property was in legal dispute between heirs of the founding family. No one maintained it. No one watched it. I parked my Ford pickup half a mile away. I walked the rest of the way. The building appeared among the trees, a massive 3-story brick structure. The chimney rose like an accusing finger. Broken windows revealed darkness inside. The fence had signs. Private property. Danger. No trespassing. I ignored them all. I found a cut section, probably the work of thrill-seeking teenagers. I slipped through. The yard was wild. Cracked concrete with grass growing through it. Rusty equipment scattered about. Wheelbarrows, metal containers, plumbing pipes. The main entrance had metal doors with padlocks. But around the side, there were ground-level loading windows. One had a broken frame, big enough to climb through. I went in, landing in a storage room. The smell hit me immediately. Burnt plastic, rancid chemicals, dampness. Even decades after the fire, the stench lingered. As if the building was still slowly cooking, my flashlight revealed shelves, still standing, still loaded, with boxes, hundreds of boxes of toys. My heart raced. This was it. The treasure. I approached, reached for the first box. Deteriorated cardboard. I opened it. Inside, dolls. 5 of them, porcelain, period dresses, perfect faces with red-painted lips, and eyes, glass eyes blue, looking up at me. A chill ran down my spine. Something about those eyes, so realistic, so human, but empty, dead. I checked more boxes, more dolls, different sizes, different styles, but all with those disturbing glass eyes. And on the shelves, loose, dozens more, standing, sitting, lying down, all looking in random directions, hundreds of glass eyes, all reflecting the beam of my flashlight, creating the illusion that they were watching me, that they were following my every move. Relax, I told myself. Just dolls, just plastic and glass. I started selecting the most valuable ones, porcelain dolls in good condition. I put them in my backpack, maybe $20, $50 each minimum, $1,000 in 10 minutes of work. But I wanted more. The building was huge. There had to be more treasures. I moved deeper, through the storage room to the main production floor. The double doors were half open. I pushed them open. The production floor was massive, maybe 100 feet long. Assembly lines still visible, conveyor belts, workstations, industrial machinery, all covered in soot and rust. Fire damage was obvious. Collapsed sections of ceiling, blackened beams, smoke-stained walls, and everywhere, toys, toy parts, doll heads without bodies, arms, legs, torsos, scattered like a battlefield after a massacre. The floor was covered with debris, broken glass, twisted metal, and molds, metal molds for forming plastic parts, some still intact, others broken with sharp edges sticking out. I walked carefully, each step deliberate, the light from my flashlight bouncing off shiny surfaces, creating shadows that moved like living things. Then my foot caught, a mold hidden under debris. I stumbled, hands outstretched to break my fall. My palm landed on something sharp. Pain exploded. I looked down, a broken mold, sharp as a knife. It had cut my hand, deep, blood gushing immediately. Shit! I pressed my other hand over the wound, trying to stop the bleeding, but it flowed between my fingers, dripping onto the floor, each drop sounding too loud in the silence. I searched my backpack. I had a first aid kit. I took out gauze. I wrapped my hand, tightly, the white turning red instantly. The pain throbbed, sharp but manageable. I needed to get out, go to the emergency room. This needed stitches. But then I looked at my backpack, the wrists inside, $1,000, and I had barely explored. If I left now, I would miss my chance. Just a little more, I decided. Check the second floor, then I'll leave. Stupid. So stupid. I found stairs, metal, rusty, but they looked solid. I started climbing, my injured hand leaving red smears on the handrail. The second floor was offices and design rooms. Desks still in place, chairs overturned, papers everywhere, work orders, toy designs, memos. One office had filing cabinets. Curiosity pushed me to look inside. Personnel files, production records, and something else, a diary. A spiral notebook with a worn leather cover. I opened it. The first page, Diary of Trazen Hollis, production manager, January 1988. I started reading. The first entries were mundane. Production numbers, problems with suppliers, worker complaints. But then, March 1988, another accident today. Merrick lost 3 fingers in the molding press. Didn't report it. Owner says more reports attract inspectors. Gave him $500 in cash to keep quiet. My stomach twisted. It continued. June 1988. Plastic extruder failed again. Temperatures too high. Technician says it needs complete replacement. Owner says to hold off. We have quotas to meet. I fear someone will get badly burned. September 1988. Quillan died today. Exhaust fan wasn't working. Plastic fumes overcame him. He collapsed on the floor. By the time we found him, he had stopped breathing. Owner says it was heart attack. No autopsy. Family received small payment. Horror after horror. Page after page, years of negligence, of covered-up accidents, of lives destroyed for profit. The last entry, October 1989, days before the fire. The machines are out of control, constantly overheating. The electrical system sparks. I told the owner we should evacuate, that we should close until repairs are made. He laughed. We have Christmas orders to fulfill. I feel like something terrible is going to happen, but I'm a coward. I don't report it. I don't stop production. I just write here and hope I'm wrong. I wasn't wrong. The fire happened 2 days later. 17 dead. I closed the diary. My hands were shaking, not just because of my injury, because of the magnitude of the horror documented. This was evidence of crimes, of corporate murder. Should I take it, hand it over to the authorities? Then I heard something. Upstairs, 3rd floor, footsteps, shuffling. Heavy. I froze, listening. There again. Definitely footsteps. Someone else was in the building. Security. Another explorer. Homeless. I should have gone downstairs. Left. But curiosity, that damn curiosity, won out again. And something else. Fear that whoever was upstairs would block my exit. Better to know where they were. I found stairs to the 3rd floor. Narrower. Less well-maintained. I started climbing, slowly, trying not to make any noise. The 3rd floor was different. Hotter up there, worse fire damage. Large sections of the ceiling were missing. I could see gray sky through holes. Rain had been coming in for years, puddles of stagnant water on the floor, and more toys. But these were different, defective. Dolls with melted faces, twisted limbs, eyes hanging from their sockets like something out of a nightmare. The footsteps had stopped. Total silence except for dripping water. "Hello?" I called, my voice sounding small, scared. No answer. But then, a sound. Rolling. Something rolling across the floor toward me. I shone my flashlight. A doll. Plastic doll. Dressed as a soldier. Rolling, until it stopped at my feet. My heart was pounding. Where had it come from? I looked up. A pile of boxes. Unstable. One had fallen. The doll rolled out. Just gravity, I told myself. Sloping floor. Deteriorating structure. But I didn't feel comforted. I continued exploring. The 3rd floor had a large room at the back. Metal door with a padlock. But the padlock was rusted. I pulled. It broke. The door opened with a squeak. The smell that came out was worse than downstairs. Chemicals, burnt plastic, and something organic, rotten. I shone my flashlight inside. It was a storage room, but different, neater, as if someone had intentionally organized this. Shelves full of things, parts, but not normal toy parts. These were more realistic, more human. I approached. I examined. They were prosthetics. Prosthetic arms, legs, hands, dozens of them. Old. From the 80s, judging by the design. What were they doing here? In a toy factory. Then I saw the paper, stuck to the wall. Official memo from Wonderland Toy Company. Cover-up project, October 1989. Following the fire incident, the following workers survived with severe mutilations requiring prosthetics. Saffron Mills. Both hands burned, requires bilateral prosthetics. Dagny Roth. Right leg amputated below the knee. Evander Keys. Left arm up to the elbow. The list went on. 18 names. To avoid lawsuits and public scrutiny, these prosthetics were secretly provided under confidentiality agreements. The cost was recorded as production equipment. This storage contains the molds and prototypes. My God, they hadn't just covered up deaths. They had covered up mutilations, buying silence with prosthetics, hiding evidence here where no one would look. Then I noticed something else. One of the prosthetics, a right hand, was on a low shelf, and it was moving. Slightly. The fingers curling, straightening, as if grasping something invisible. My blood ran cold. How? I approached. Slowly. The hand was still moving. Then I saw. There was a cable connected, running along the shelf, towards a small box. A battery-powered motor, still working after decades. Activated by a motion sensor, my presence had triggered it, and behind the hand, in the shadows, something moved, something alive. A rat, big, fat. It had made a nest behind the shelves. My approach had scared it. It scurried through a hole in the wall. Relief flooded me. Rational explanation, not paranormal. Just mechanics and rodents. But then the floor beneath my feet creaked. Horrible sound. Wood breaking. I looked down. The floor here was deteriorated. Severe water damage. I could see through cracks. The second floor below. I backed away. Slowly. Distributing my weight. Another creak. Louder. Shit, shit, shit. I moved toward the door. Each step causing new creaks. The floor giving way inch by inch, almost at the door. 5 steps, 4, 3. Then the world fell. The floor collapsed. Not completely. But a 2 square meter section right in front of the door fell, disappearing in a cloud of dust. The sound was deafening. A crash. A bang. An endless echo. I grabbed onto a metal pipe running along the wall, my feet dangling over the void where the floor had been, below, 3 meters down, the second floor, now covered in debris and water. A large puddle and wires, exposed electrical wires, probably dead, probably safe, but then one sparked, bright blue. Electricity still flowing after decades, touching the water, making the surface ripple with current. If I fell, if I touched that water, I would be electrocuted. My arms were burning. The pipe was all that was holding me up. My injured hand screaming in pain, the gauze soaked with blood, making my grip slippery. Hang on, I growled at myself. Just hang on. I swung my legs, trying to gain momentum, to the left, where the floor was still solid. 1 swing, 2, 3. On the third, I let go, flying through the void, landing, barely, on the edge of the intact floor. I rolled. Away from the hole, my chest heaving, pure adrenaline keeping me conscious. I needed to get out, now, before more of the building collapsed. Before my luck ran out, I got up, ran to the stairs, down to the second floor, then to the first, toward the window I had entered. Almost there, across the production floor, dodging debris, my hand dripping blood, leaving a trail like Hansel and Gretel. The window, ahead, daylight streaming in, beautiful, life-saving. I squeezed through, falling onto the grass outside, breathing fresh air, free. I lay there for minutes, just catching my breath, thankful to be alive. Then I remembered. My backpack, still on my back. The dolls, the diary. I'd gotten away with everything. With the evidence, with $1,000 worth of vintage inventory. I should have been happy, triumphant, but I just felt sick. I walked back to my truck, drove to the nearest hospital. Emergency room, 8 stitches in my palm, antibiotics, warnings about infection. How did this happen, the nurse asked. Accident working with metal, I lied. I'm a sculptor. She asked no further questions. At home, I examined the loot. The dolls were worth what I thought, maybe more. I cleaned them, photographed them, listed them on eBay. They all sold within a week, $1,400 total. Good money. But the diary, that was different. Evidence of crimes, of criminal negligence, of covered-up deaths and mutilations. What to do with it? I investigated. Wonderland's heirs were still fighting in court. The victims' families had never received real compensation. Many were still alive, still suffering. I copied the journal, digitally. Then I sent anonymous copies to local reporters, to victims' lawyers, to occupational safety investigators. The stories started coming out. New evidence in Wonderland scandal. Journal reveals years of negligence. Victims' families sue again. The case was reopened. Criminal investigations, civil lawsuits. The heirs were finally held accountable. They paid millions in settlements. And the factory, it was demolished 6 months after my visit, razed as if it had never existed. I should have felt closure, satisfaction that justice had been served. But the nightmares began every night. I dreamed of glass eyes, hundreds of them, staring at me, accusing me, of desecrating their grave, of stealing from the dead. And my hand, the scar never healed properly, keloid, thick, pink, a permanent reminder, sometimes. When it's dark, I swear the scar moves, pulsing, like something alive under my skin, trying to get out. The doctors say it's normal, nerve damage, phantom sensations. But I know the truth. Something from that place stayed with me. In my blood, in my flesh, a reminder that some things are better left buried. I stopped collecting antique toys. The market lost its appeal. Every doll reminded me of those eyes, those faces, that smell of burnt plastic. Now I sell something else, vintage clothing, nothing with eyes, nothing that watches me. But sometimes, at garage sales, at thrift stores, I see Wonderland dolls with their characteristic glass eyes, their porcelain faces, their vintage dresses, and I always walk away because I know what they cost, not in dollars, in blood, in lives, in souls trapped in plastic and glass. The last time I drove near where the factory used to be, now just an empty lot, I stopped. I got out. I walked to the edge. The land had been cleared, but if you looked closely, you could still see stains on the ground where the foundations had been, dark stains that didn't wash away with rain, and buried in the earth, fragments, pieces of toys, a glass eye, a plastic finger, fragments of the past that refused to stay buried. I picked them up. I don't know why. I took them home. I put them in a jar, on my shelf, where I can see them. Reminders that every object has a story, that beauty and horror are often linked, that the past never really dies. It just waits, in dark places, in abandoned buildings, in forgotten objects, waiting for someone curious, someone greedy, someone stupid, to come and awaken what sleeps, and discover, too late, that some treasures have a price higher than money. They have a price paid in blood, in fear, in sleepless nights listening to sounds that shouldn't exist. The price I pay every time my scar throbs, every time I see glass eyes in my dreams, every time I smell burnt plastic in air that should be clean, the price of awakening something worse than memories, the truth that some horrors are entirely human, created by greed, by negligence, by the decision to value profits over lives. And those horrors never really end. They just wait, in forgotten places, in hidden diaries, in prosthetics stored where no one should find them, waiting for a witness, waiting for someone to tell their story. And now I have told it. But telling brings no peace. It only makes the glass eyes watch me more intently. It only makes my scar hurt deeper. It only makes the dreams more vivid. Because now you all know. And to know what happened in places like Wonderland. It makes the shadows move differently. It makes ordinary objects seem sinister. It makes every old toy carry the weight of unknown history. And maybe, just maybe, that's what the dead wanted. Not revenge, not justice, just witnesses. Just for someone to remember, for someone to know that they existed, that they suffered, that they mattered. And now you know, as I know, as I will always know, every time my scarred hand taps in the dark. I traveled alone to the abandoned mining town of Sierra Negra, drawn by legends of lost gold. But the real gold mine was the house at the end of Main Street, where the door opened by itself every time I tried to leave. My name is Caspian Thorne, 34 years old, amateur treasure hunter and addict to stories of lost fortunes. I had spent 2 years following leads about Sierra Negra, a mining town in the Colorado mountains that had flourished in 1880 and collapsed in 1912 when the mines flooded. 200 miners died. The town was evacuated, never rebuilt. Only the legend remained that in the hasty evacuation, a fortune in unprocessed gold had been left behind, hidden, waiting. My research in county archives, old newspapers, personal diaries had led me to believe I knew where to look. A specific house at the end of Main Street. The mine supervisor's house, who, according to rumors, had been hoarding stolen gold before the disaster. It was November, bitingly cold. I drove my Jeep down increasingly primitive dirt roads until even those ended. I parked. I walked the rest of the way, 3 miles uphill. My backpack heavy with equipment, metal detector, folding shovel, flashlights, extra batteries, tent, food for 3 days. The village appeared suddenly. Among the trees, a collection of dilapidated wooden structures, maybe 20 buildings. Most collapsed, some still standing, defying gravity and time. The wind howled through the ruined houses, a ghostly sound, like the moans of the dead. Gusts pushed hanging doors that banged against rotten frames. Broken windows whistled, but beneath the wind, silence. Silence so deep it forced me to listen to my own heart beating like a drum. Each beat echoed in my ears, too loud, too fast. I walked down what had been the main street. Wooden signs identifying buildings still hung: saloon, general store, assay office. All the structures empty, looted decades ago by treasure hunters more successful than me. At the end of the street, the house, 2 stories, relatively intact compared to others, peeling paint but solid walls, roof mostly intact. Windows, some broken, others incredibly still with glass. The front door was closed, but as I approached, it opened, slowly, as if inviting me in. The wind, it had to be the wind, pushing from inside, drafts through the building. But something about that door opening, something stopped me. Primitive instinct saying, danger. "You're being ridiculous," I muttered. "It's just an old house." I went inside. The hallway was dark, thick dust on every surface, my footsteps leaving tracks, probably the first in years. The smell hit me, mold, dampness, and something else, sweeter, more organic, rot. Like something, animal I hope, had died in the walls. My flashlight revealed a room to the left, furniture still present. Sofa with rotten fabric, overturned chairs, table covered with debris, and on the wall, family photos, framed, covered in black soot, as if smoke had darkened them. I approached. I wiped one with my sleeve. A photograph from the 1900s. A family of 5, a stern father with a mustache, a mother in a Victorian dress, 3 children, all looking at the camera with the serious expressions people used to have back then. Was this the supervisor's family? The last ones to live here. I searched the room, looking for signs of hiding places. Loose floorboards, false wall panels, nothing obvious. I moved to the kitchen, rusty iron stove, empty cupboards, table with fallen chairs, and on the floor, something that stopped me, footprints. In the dust, not mine, not old, fresh, recent. Boots, large, male, crossing from the back door to the stairs. My blood ran cold. Someone else had been here, recently. Hours, days. Were they still here? "Hello?" I called, my voice sounding too weak. "Anyone there?" Silence, except for the wind, whistling through cracks. Maybe they were old. Maybe the dust preserved footprints for months, years even. But I didn't believe it. I should have left then, gone back to my Jeep, forgotten Sierra Negra. But the gold, the possibility, it pushed me forward. I climbed the stairs. Each step creaked, wood protesting under weight after decades of disuse. The second floor had 3 bedrooms. I checked the first, bed with a rotten mattress, empty wardrobe, broken window with curtains fluttering. The second, similar, but with something else, a desk, and on it, an account book, an old ledger with a leather cover. I opened it. Yellowed pages, faded ink, but legible, records of gold processed, quantities, dates, and notes in the margin. reserved, hidden, for later. My heart raced. This was evidence. The supervisor had been stealing, hoarding, hiding gold. I kept reading. The last entries. March 1912, weeks before the collapse. Hid the rest in the cellar behind the false wall. No one will find it. When things calm down, I'll get it back. The cellar. There had to be a cellar basement. I went downstairs, looking for the entrance to the basement in the kitchen. I found a door. Locked. I pulled. Stuck. Years of damp had swollen the wood. I pulled harder. It opened with a horrible creak, revealing stairs leading down into darkness. The smell that rose up was worse, much worse. Earth, stagnant water, and that rot. Stronger here, almost overwhelming. I started down, slowly, testing each step. The wood was soft, rotten. It could collapse at any moment. I reached the bottom. My flashlight revealed a large space. Stone basement, but partially flooded. Water covered half the floor. Black, stagnant, bubbling slightly with gases of decomposition. And floating in the water. Things, wooden boards, rusty tools, and something else. Something that made me recoil in nausea. Bones, white, clean, floating among the debris. Human. They had to be human. The sizes, the shapes, skulls, ribs, femurs, bodies of miners, trapped when the mines collapsed, dragged here by underground currents. The horror was visceral. I was standing in an aquatic tomb with dead people from the last century. But also, the gold, the fortune. It was here, somewhere. I searched with a flashlight, the walls, looking for the false wall that the ledger mentioned. There, in the far corner, a wall that looked newer. Different stones, different mortar. I had to wade through the water to reach it. Water up to my knees, ice cold. The nauseating smell, things touching my legs. I didn't want to think about what. I reached the wall. I knocked. Hollow sound. Definitely false. I took out my folding shovel. I started digging around the edges. Loose mortar falling, stones shifting. Then, sound above. The basement door, closing, slam, as if someone had slammed it. I froze, heart pounding. Hello? Anyone there? Silence. Then, scratches on the walls above, like nails or claws scraping wood. Panic rose. I wasn't alone. Someone was upstairs. It's just the wind, I told myself. Drafts, the house settling. But I didn't believe it. The scratches were too rhythmic, too deliberate. I worked faster on the wall. I needed the gold. I needed something to make this nightmare trip worthwhile. Finally, section of wall moved. I could get my fingers behind it. Pull. Stones falling, revealing cavity. And inside, boxes, wooden, small, maybe 10. I opened them. They contained gold, nuggets, unprocessed, glittering even in the flashlight. I had found it. The fortune of Sierra Negra. I started loading boxes into my backpack. Heavy, but manageable. Maybe 50 pounds total. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. Then, the sound changed. Upstairs, no more scratching. Footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. Crossing the floor above me. Someone was in the house, and they knew I was here. I needed to get out. Now. I waded back through the water, toward the stairs. I started climbing. I reached the door. Locked. I tried to open it. It wouldn't budge. "Hey," I shouted. "Okay, I'm coming out. Just let me out." No response. But I heard breathing. On the other side of the door. Heavy. Laborious. Like someone who had been running. Or who was sick. "Please," I tried again. "I don't want any trouble. Just..." The floor beneath my feet creaked. Then it gave way. The steps, rotten from decades of damp. They collapsed, under my weight, and that of the gold. I fell, back into the basement. Landing hard, my ankle twisting, pain exploding, my backpack hitting my back, pushing air out of my lungs. I splashed in the water, struggling to get up, my ankle screaming but manageable, not broken, just twisted. The stairs were ruins now, no climbing up there. Another way out. There had to be. Window, door, something. I searched with my flashlight. There, small window, high on the wall, ground level outside, with bars but rusty. Maybe I could break them. I dragged a heavy box under the window. I climbed up, reaching for the bars. I pulled. One moved. Rusty. Weak. I worked on it, bending it, twisting it. Finally, it broke, falling into the water with a splash. Another one. Same process. My hands bleeding now, cut on rusty metal. But I didn't stop. 3 bars removed, enough space to squeeze through. I broke the glass with the handle of my shovel. I started climbing. Then, a voice, from above, from the main floor. "Don't come out." Rough, broken, barely human. "They hear you." I froze, half inside, half outside the window. "Who are you?" I shouted. "What do you want?" "They hear everything." The voice closer now, descending, how, toward the basement. "If you go out, they come." Who would come? What was she talking about? I didn't stay to find out. I pushed through the window, glass cutting my back, my shoulders, but emerging outside. Outside. The freezing air had never felt so good. I was behind the house, away from the main street. I got up, limping on my bad ankle. I needed to get back to the street, to my Jeep, to get out of this damn town. I circled the house, back to the front door still open, like an invitation or a warning. I started down the street, towards where I had come from, my heavy backpack full of gold, my ankle protesting with every step. Then, behind me, the sound of a door, opening, closing. I looked back, a figure emerging from the house, a man, or what had been a man, now something between human and ghost, skinny, emaciated, ragged clothes, long hair and beard, wild, dirty, skin pale as paper, sunken eyes, empty, and in his hands, a shovel, rusty, but solid, held like a weapon. "You shouldn't," he shouted, his voice breaking. "Now they'll hear you. They'll come." He started walking toward me, slowly at first, then faster, dragging the shovel. I ran, as fast as I could with my bad ankle and heavy backpack, pain shooting through my leg, but terror was stronger. "Come back," his voice behind me. "You have to hide." I didn't look back. I just ran. Down the main street, ruined buildings blurring by. He was chasing me. I could hear his footsteps, irregular, shuffling, but persistent. How long had he lived here? Years. Decades. Completely mad from isolation and who knows what else. I reached the edge of town. The trail to where I had parked. 3 miles downhill. I looked back. He was still coming. Slower now, but not stopping. The shovel dragging along the ground. I ran down the path, through the trees, branches whipping my face, roots trying to trip me. My ankle finally gave way. I fell, rolling downhill, hitting trees, rocks, finally coming to a stop in a painful heap. I got up, every part of me screaming, but I got up. Because he was still coming, I could hear him, through the trees. "Wait! You have to understand." My Jeep, finally, ahead, parked where I had left it. I ran the last few yards, took out my keys, hands shaking so violently that I dropped them. I picked them up, second try, unlocked, got in, started it. The engine roared, most beautiful sound. I looked in the rearview mirror, him emerging from the trees, staggering, the shovel still in his hands, yelling something I couldn't hear over the engine. I accelerated, tires spinning on loose dirt, then gripping, the Jeep leaping forward. I drove without stopping, down dirt roads, to the paved highway, to civilization, not slowing down until I reached town, Leadville, 30 miles later. I pulled into a motel parking lot, turned off the engine, sat there, shaking, not from cold, from shock, from adrenaline rush. I checked my backpack. The gold still there, real, tangible. Proof that I hadn't imagined anything. I rented a room. I showered, hot water washing away dirt, blood, fear. I bandaged my ankle. I treated my cuts. I took enough ibuprofen to kill an elephant. Then, I sat on the bed, examining the gold, the nuggets glistening under the fluorescent light. How much was it worth? I had to appraise it, but based on the weight and purity I could see, easily $200,000, maybe more. I had struck it rich, despite the horror, the danger, the madman with the shovel. I should have been elated, triumphant, but all I could think about was him, the man, if he was still a man, living in that dead town, among the skeletons of miners and ruined houses. What had brought him there? Had he been the supervisor who originally hid the gold? No, impossible. He would be over 100 years old. A descendant then? A treasure hunter who got lost in his search, who never came out, who slowly lost his sanity in isolation, and his words. They hear you. They're coming. Who was he talking about? Other madmen like him, ghosts in his deranged mind? Or, worse thought, were there others, living in the ruined buildings, watching from the shadows, waiting? I shuddered. No, I wasn't going to think like that. I was safe. I had escaped. But that night, in the motel room, I didn't sleep. Every sound, ice falling from the machine outside, guests in adjacent rooms, traffic on the street, made me jump. And when I finally gave in to sleep, I dreamed of doors opening by themselves, of scratches on walls, of skeletal figures emerging from black water, reaching, grabbing. I woke up screaming, sweating, heart pounding. The next morning, I went to an appraiser in Denver, a guy I knew from the black market for antiques, who didn't ask questions. He examined the gold. Impressive quality. Where did you get it? Family inheritance, I lied. Sure. He didn't believe me, but it didn't matter. I'll give you $180,000 cash today. I accepted. The money changed everything. I could pay off debts, buy a house, start a new life. But as I drove back to my apartment with the cash in a duffel bag, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I kept checking my rearview mirror, looking for something. I didn't know what. A rusty Jeep, a thin figure, a shovel. Nothing. Of course, nothing. It was paranoia, the trauma of the encounter. But then, a week later, it started. Messages in my mailbox, no stamp, no return address. Just a note scribbled in cursive. Give it back. I dismissed it. Coincidence. Or a neighbor's joke. Then another. On my windshield. The gold isn't yours. The dead claim it. How had he found me? Had he followed me from Sierra Negra? Impossible. Unless I hadn't been alone in that town. Unless others were watching. Taking my license plate. Tracking me. I reported it to the police. They saw the notes. Probably a prank, they said. But keep us informed if it escalates. I installed security cameras, changed locks, armed myself, gun, legal, registered. But the messages continued, more frequent, more threatening. You know where it belongs. Return it or pay. The dead don't forget. And then, 3 nights ago, I heard something. Outside my window, 2nd floor. Impossible unless someone was on the stairs. I looked. Nothing. But in the morning, I found something. Marks on my wall. Scratches. Like the ones at the house in Sierra Negra, as if someone had climbed up, using tools or desperate hands, and left a message carved into the siding. Don't go out, they hear you. The same words from the man in Sierra Negra. Had he followed me across hundreds of miles, finding me here? Or, even more terrifying, were there others, a network of them, crazed protectors of the gold of Sierra Negra, who would not let theft go unpunished? That day, I made a decision. The gold, what was left after buying the apartment, went to the bank, in a safe deposit box, no longer in my direct possession, and I planned to leave Colorado, this cursed state, somewhere warm, where mountains and ghost towns don't exist. But now, sitting here, packing, I hear something outside, scraping, at my door, metallic, rhythmic, like a shovel against wood, and a voice. distant, rough. I knew you'd come. I knew you'd take. My blood runs cold. The gun on my table, I grab it. My hands are shaking. The scraping continues, louder, more insistent. Now, you pay, like everyone else pays. The door won't hold out much longer. The locks are good, but not good enough in the face of enough determination, in the face of enough madness. Everything collapses. I call 911. Someone trying to get in my apartment, armed, please hurry. Units on the way. Can you describe the intruder? I don't know. I haven't seen clearly, but he sounds sick, desperate. Stay on the line. Don't confront him. The scraping stops. Silence. Tense. Expectant. Then, different voice. Closer. Right outside my window. Gold. Corrupts. Turns. Like it turned me. I approach the window. Curtains closed. I can't see. Who are you? I shout. What do you want? I was like you. A seeker. I found and I stayed. Because they made me. Who? Who made you stay? Laughter. Broken. Insane. The dead. In the water. On the walls. Everywhere. I understand then. There is no them. There is only him. The gold drove him mad. Like it drove the original supervisor mad. Like it drives anyone who seeks it too fervently mad. And now, he wants to take me back. To the village. To the hell he can't leave. Sirens. Distant but getting closer. Help is coming. The scraping starts again. More frantic. Desperate. As if he knows time is running out. You can't have it. I scream. Get away. A crash. The window breaking. Glass flying. A figure entering. Skinny. Horrible. Shovel raised. I shoot. The gun recoils in my hands. The deafening sound in the enclosed space. I miss. Nerves. Panic. My aim is shit. He advances, shovel swinging. Rusty blade seeking my head. I duck. Roll. Shoot again. This time I connect. His shoulder. Blood splattering. He screams. But he doesn't stop. The pain doesn't register. Or he's already beyond pain. Third shot. His chest. He falls. The shovel falling from his hands. His body collapsing. Sirens outside. Very close. Car door slamming. Footsteps running. Police. Open the door. I let them in. Hands up. Gun on the floor. Self-defense. He tried to kill me. He's inside. They come in. They see the scene. The man on the floor. The blood. The shovel. The broken window. And him. Still breathing. Barely. Looking at me. Eyes filled with something between hatred and pleading. You should have stayed, he whispers. In Sierra. Negra. With the gold. Like me. Then he leaves. Glassy eyes. Body relaxing in death. The officers question me. For hours. I give my statement. Clear self-defense. Justifiable. But when they search for his identity, nothing. No ID. No records. Fingerprints don't match anything in the system. As if he never officially existed. A ghost. In life and death. And when they investigate further, tracking where he came from, they find something. His temporary camp. In an abandoned warehouse miles away. And in that camp, notes, diaries, decades of insane writing. He was a treasure hunter, like me. He had gone to Sierra Negra in 1995, 30 years of living there, of losing his sanity, of becoming the guardian of gold he could never claim. And every word he had said, about them, about the dead, it was projection of his own guilt, of his own madness. There was no conspiracy. There was no network of madmen, just one man, broken by greed and isolation. And now he's dead. By my hand. Self-defense. Legal. Justified. But every night, when I close my eyes, I see him. Those sunken eyes, that pale skin, that skeletal body. And I wonder, if I had stayed longer in Sierra Negra, if I had searched for more treasures, more gold, would I have become him, lost in the search, unable to leave? The gold is sold, the money spent. My apartment is on the market. I'm moving to Florida, away from mountains, from ghost towns, from stories of lost fortunes. Because I learned something in Sierra Negra, something the madman never could, that some treasures cost more than they are worth. That wealth bought with sanity is not wealth. It is a curse, like a door that opens by itself, inviting you in, trapping you, never letting you go completely. I went down into the abandoned Washington, D.C. subway tracks, a labyrinth of concrete and rust that no one has visited since the 1980s. My voice echoed off the walls when I said hello to test the acoustics, and something mimicked it, whispering my name with a choked laugh that made my blood run cold. My name is Peregrine Ashford, 30 years old, independent documentary filmmaker specializing in abandoned urban infrastructure. I had made videos about closed psychiatric hospitals, dismantled military bases, ghost amusement parks. My YouTube channel had 200,000 subscribers who wanted to see what others didn't dare to explore. And the abandoned DC subway was my next project. Not many people know these sections exist. Tunnels built in the 1970s as part of a planned expansion that was never completed. Some sections were used briefly in the 1980s before being closed after the 1982 accident. 3 workers died in a collapse when a section of the tunnel caved in during maintenance. The investigation revealed faulty construction. The city closed the entire branch line. They sealed the entrances. They erased maps, as if it had never existed. But I had found the original plans in county archives, and I had located the access point, a ventilation grate in an industrial alley in northeast DC. No one was watching it. No one knew it led straight to the ghost tunnels. It was February, 11 p.m. on a freezing Tuesday. I had chosen a late hour to avoid witnesses. My equipment: GoPro camera on my helmet, Sony A7 handheld camera, 3 powerful LED flashlights, extra batteries, respirator mask with filters, gloves, work boots, improvised map of the tunnels, fully charged phone, although I knew there would be no signal underground, rope, multi-tool knife, first aid kit. Professional, prepared, or so I thought. The grate lifted easier than expected. Metal ladder descending into darkness. I began to descend, 20 steps, 30, the air changing, getting colder, denser, smelling of dampness and something metallic. I reached the bottom. A maintenance passage, cracked concrete, pipes running across the ceiling, water dripping into puddles, my breath forming clouds in the icy air. The damp cold penetrated my bones. Even with a thick jacket and layers, I could feel it, penetrating, as if the place itself were alive and breathing coldness onto my skin. I turned on my main flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing a narrow passageway stretching ahead. I continued, my boots splashing in standing water, the sound echoing, amplified by the strange acoustics of the confined space. After 50 meters, the passage opened up into something larger, a subway platform, abandoned, ghostly, like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. The walls were white tiles, many cracked, some missing, revealing darkened concrete beneath. There were benches, rotten wood, an information kiosk, broken glass, directional signs still hanging, rusty but legible, exit, connections, no trespassing, and graffiti. Lots of graffiti, not just gang tags. Some were disturbing. Messages, warnings. 17 dead here. Don't breathe deep. The tunnels remember. Accident 1982, never forgotten. I photographed everything, documenting. But a discomfort grew. Something about this place. The way the silence pressed in. The way every sound seemed to have a delayed echo, as if the space was listening. "Hello," I said aloud. Testing the echoes, documenting for the video. My voice bounced back. "Hello. Hello. Hello." Each repetition softer, more distorted. Then, something else, another sound like my voice, but no, Peregrine whispered, with a stifled laugh at the end. I froze, heart racing. Who's there? Silence, just dripping water. And my breathing, too loud in my ears. Strange acoustics, I told myself. Just my voice echoing weirdly. But I hadn't said my name. Or had I? In my introduction to the video. I checked mentally. No, I hadn't recorded an introduction yet. Paranoia, it had to be. The atmosphere of this place was making me nervous. I continued exploring. I climbed down from the platform onto the tracks. The rails were still there, rusty but intact. The wooden sleepers were rotten. Some were missing. The tunnel stretched out in both directions. I chose the right, toward where my map suggested the section of the 1982 collapse was. I walked along the tracks. My main flashlight and the one on my helmet created halos of light. But beyond them, absolute darkness. The kind of darkness that doesn't exist on the surface, where natural light always filters in from somewhere. Not here. Here, the darkness was total, hungry, as if it wanted to swallow my light. Then my main flashlight flickered. It went out. It turned on. It went out again. Shit. I hit it. Nothing. Dead. I took out my second flashlight. It turned on fine, but the incident made me nervous. If all the lights failed, I would be in total darkness, miles underground. No way to see. No way out. I took a deep breath, calming myself. The light on my helmet still worked, and I had a backup flashlight. I was fine. I continued. The tunnel seemed to narrow, the walls closing in, or maybe it was my imagination. Claustrophobia starting to set in, and the air felt denser here, harder to breathe, as if there wasn't enough oxygen. I put on my breathing mask. It helped, but the feeling of confinement intensified. Then I heard something behind me. Footsteps, splashing in water. Rhythmic, deliberate. I turned around. I shone my flashlight. Nothing. Just empty tunnel. Darkness devouring my beam after 30 meters. Hello? I called. Is anyone there? My voice bounced back, distorted, and again, that strange echo. Someone, but also something else, like laughter or crying. Impossible to tell. The footsteps had stopped, but the feeling of being watched was intense, prickling on the back of my neck, primitive instinct saying, predator nearby. I should have turned back then, left while I could. But curiosity and professional pride pushed me forward. It's just my echo, I convinced myself. And rats, probably rats. I continued, deeper, the tunnel turning slightly, and then I saw something. A change in the walls. The tiles ended, replaced by exposed concrete, cracked, with dark stains. The site of the collapse. This section of the tunnel had partially collapsed, debris filling the tracks, support beams bent, some broken, the ceiling lower, held up by emergency supports installed after the accident. I climbed over the debris, carefully, testing each step before putting weight on it. The concrete unstable. Still settling after 40 years, and on the walls, more graffiti, but these were different, more personal. Marcus Tate died here, Feb 15, 1982. Javier Quinn, father, husband, forgotten. Shepard Mills, 23 years old, too young. Names of the victims, left by family, or friends, or workers who survived. Makeshift memorials on concrete graves. I took pictures, but with reverence. This was sacred, in its own twisted way. I passed the site of the collapse. On the other side, the tunnel continued, but more deteriorated, less maintained. As if after the accident they had completely stopped caring. The water here was deeper, ankle high, icy, seeping through my boots, my feet going numb, and the smell, worse, not just dampness, something organic, rotten, like an open sewer. Then, the footsteps again, but this time, closer, and multiple. As if several pairs of feet were splashing behind me, I turned around. I shone my light. Nothing visible, but the sounds continued, Closer, clearer. Panic began to rise. It wasn't my echo. They were real footsteps. Someone, several people were following me. "Who's there?" I shouted. "Can you hear me? I know you're there." The footsteps stopped. Tense silence. Then, a voice, male, young. "Get out of here." Not an echo. A real voice, human. "Who are you?" I asked. "What are you doing here?" "This is our place. Go away." Our. Plural. How many were there? I should have obeyed. Left. Respect their space. But something, stupid pride, journalistic curiosity made me press on. "I'm just documenting. I don't want any trouble. Just let me finish and I'll leave." Laughter. Multiple voices, all young. Children, perhaps. Or teenagers. "You're not leaving. Now you're part of..." Part of what? A joke? A gang ritual? Or something worse? I made up my mind then. Get out. Now. It wasn't worth the risk. I turned around. I started walking fast, back toward the collapse, toward the platform, toward the exit. The footsteps behind me resumed. Faster now, chasing me. I started running, splashing through water, my light bouncing around, creating crazy shadows. The voices behind me, closer, shouting, "Run! Run! Don't escape!" I reached the collapse. I started climbing, hands slipping on wet concrete, knee hitting debris. Sharp pain, but I didn't stop. Up, over the pile, down the other side. Footsteps behind me. In the rubble now. Climbing, as I had done. I ran through the tunnel, toward the platform, lungs burning, the breathing mask hindering me. I took it off, throwing it away. I needed full air to run. The platform ahead, almost there. Then, I tripped. Foot caught on loose rail, fell, hard, hands outstretched, hitting concrete, pain exploding in wrists, and I kept falling. The floor wasn't solid, it was metal grating, covering a maintenance pit, and my weight, plus the impact, broke the rusty grating. I fell through, into darkness, 3 meters, 4, hitting water, cold, nauseating, submerging my head, swallowing inadvertently. The taste, chemical, rotten, making me vomit immediately. I emerged, coughing, spitting, in total panic. I was in a maintenance pit, deep, narrow, slippery concrete walls, water up to my chest, and moving, things in the water, touching my legs, my waist, rats. They had to be rats, squeaking, swimming, dozens of them, running away from me, or coming closer, impossible to tell. I felt their bodies brushing against my skin through my wet clothes, their claws scratching, trying to use my body as a platform to escape the water. I screamed. I flailed, trying to push them away. But there were too many. My helmet light was still on, miraculously, revealing the horror. Black water filled with floating garbage. Rats' bodies, some alive, some dead and swollen. And the walls, covered in black mold, viscous, slippery. I needed to get out, now, before something worse than rats was in this water. I looked for a ladder, steps, something. There, on the wall, built-in metal steps, rusty but present. I started climbing, my boots slipping, wet gloves with no grip. But I climbed, step by step, rats falling from my clothes, from my backpack. I reached the top, the level of the tunnel. I pulled myself out, collapsing on the concrete. Breathing heavily, covered in putrid water, smelling like a sewer. I lay there, seconds, minutes, catching my breath, grateful to be out of the pit. Then I remembered. The pursuers. I sat up, looked around. The platform was close, 20 meters maybe. And between me and it, figures, 5, 6. Hard to count in the dark, small, thin. Children, standing, watching, as if they had been waiting for me to climb up. "Who are you?" I asked. My voice broken, exhausted, no answer. They just stared, and then one moved, forward, into the light of my helmet. It was a boy, maybe 12 years old, skinny, dirty, ragged clothes, face covered in grime, eyes, God, those eyes, empty, dead, as if he had seen things no child should ever see. In his hand, something metallic, an iron bar. or a pipe. "Please," I said, "just let me go. I won't hurt you. I won't tell anyone you're here." "Liar." His voice was flat, emotionless. "Everyone lies. Everyone hurts." "No, I'm just making a video for the internet. I have no problem with you." "Video," he spat the word. "To laugh at us, to show us off like animals. It's not like that, I swear." "Liar," he shouted now, coming closer. The bar raised. The others moved too, closing in on me, each with something, pieces of metal, pipes, chains. I backed away, toward the edge of the well, trapped between putrid water below and armed children ahead. "Listen," I tried, desperate voice. "Someone hurt you, I understand, but it wasn't me. I've never seen you before today. They're all the same." Another child spoke, a girl, maybe 10. "They say they're helping, then they hurt us, over and over." "What are you talking about? Who hurt you?" "You!" The first child, the apparent leader, roared. "Men like you, with cameras saying they're documenting, then selling photos, videos of us for sick people." Oh God, I understood then. These children, they lived here, in the tunnels, refugees, escaping the streets, or something worse. And they had been exploited before, by someone with a camera, someone who promised help, but only wanted illegal content. Horrible. And now, they saw me as that person, as a predator, when I was just a stupid documentary filmmaker looking for fresh content. "I'm not like that," I said. "My camera, look, I only film places, buildings, not people. And especially not children. You can check." Lies. All lies. The leader stepped forward, the bar swinging. I needed to disarm him, convince him, or fight. But it was 6 against 1, armed. Desperate. I took out my handheld camera, the one that survived the fall. "Look, here's everything I recorded. You can delete it, keep it, whatever you want. Just please let me go." I held out the camera. An offering of peace. He hesitated, looking at the camera, then at me, then at the others. A younger girl, maybe 8. She approached, took the camera, examined it, scrolled through files. "It's just tunnels," she murmured. "Nothing else." "See," I said. "I'm not here to hurt you." But the leader wasn't convinced. The trauma too deep, the paranoia too ingrained. "You still saw us," he said. "Now you know we're here. You'll come with the police, with social services. They'll separate us, they'll send us back." "Send us back where?" "To them," he shouted. "To the people who hurt us. Foster homes, group homes, places where no one protects us." "I won't do that," I promised. "I swear. I'll never tell anyone you're here." "I don't believe you." She advanced, the bar rising, preparing to swing. I ducked, using survival instinct. I grabbed the first step of the well. I pulled, my weight pulling it from its rusty mountings, ripping it from the concrete. The step came out. Half-meter metal bar, rusty, but solid. I stood up, holding it. "I don't want to fight," I said, "but I will defend myself." The children hesitated. They didn't expect resistance. They were used to victims, not fighters. The leader growled. He charged, the bar swinging toward my head. I blocked it. Metal clashing against metal, sparks flying, the impact vibrating through my arms. I pushed, using my weight. Adult advantage against child. He backed away, but the others advanced. Surrounding me, multiple directions, I couldn't block them all. A girl swung a chain. It whipped my back, pain exploding, through my wet jacket, skin tearing. I spun, swung my bar. She ducked, avoiding it. Another, a 9-year-old maybe, tried to hit my legs with a pipe. I jumped, but I landed badly. Twisted knee, sharp pain. I limped toward the platform. If I could reach higher ground, defend better. The leader followed me. "Don't run away. You can't." "I don't want to hurt anyone," I shouted back. "Especially children, please." But he wasn't listening. Trauma had shut down reason. Only the instinct for survival remained. It was them or me. I reached the platform. I climbed up, height advantage, fewer angles to attack, but they followed me, climbing, like zombies in a movie, determined, tireless. The leader reached the top first. Bars swinging, he connected with my shoulder. I didn't block in time, pain exploding, arm going numb. I dropped my bar, right hand useless. With my left, I pushed hard, his ribs. He recoiled, losing balance, falling off the platform, back onto the tracks, landing hard. The others shouted, angry, scared, their leader down. I took advantage of the confusion, ran across the platform, toward the passageway, toward the exit, behind me. Shouts. Come back, you'll pay, we'll find you. But I didn't look back, just ran, through the passageway, toward the stairs, toward the surface. I climbed the steps, 2 at a time, legs burning, lungs screaming, but I didn't stop. I reached the grate. I pushed. Open, fresh air, nighttime city air. It never smelled so good. I got out, collapsing on the alley pavement, breathing as if I had been drowning. I lay there, minutes, processing, still alive, battered, soaked, stinking, but alive. Eventually I got up, limping to where I had parked, my car 3 blocks away. I reached it, got in, closed the doors, locked them. Only then did I allow myself to shake, from shock, from relief, from horror at what almost happened. I drove home, to my apartment in Georgetown. I climbed the stairs, every step agony. I went inside, locked the door, put the chain on. I took a shower, hot water as high as possible, washing away the dirt, the smell, the memory. I treated my wounds, cut on my back from the chain, bruises everywhere, partially dislocated shoulder, swollen knee, but alive, miraculously. I checked my equipment. GoPro on my helmet, still recording. It captured everything, the tunnels, the pit, the children. I watched the footage. The children clear on video, their faces, their ages, their desperation, evidence that they live there, that they attacked me. I could take it to the police, but their words echoed in my head. They will get us back. The people who hurt us. What if they were right? What if the system was broken? What if reporting them would only cause more harm? I deleted the footage, everything, of the children, of their faces. I kept only the shots of empty tunnels, of graffiti, of collapse. I never uploaded the subway video. I never went back. I canceled the project completely, and I never reported the children to anyone, not the police or social services, because sometimes the system that should protect is the one that hurts the most, and who was I to force traumatized children back into that? But the nightmares began, every night. I dreamed of tunnels, of black water, of rats, of children with dead eyes wielding bars, and the worst one, the one that woke me up screaming. It was the leader, the 12-year-old boy, his empty eyes, his bar swinging, and his voice flat, dead. Everyone is the same, everyone hurts. 'Cause he was right, in his twisted way. I had invaded, without permission, without considering that maybe, just maybe, that abandoned place was someone's home. And now I carry that. The knowledge that I left children living in tunnels, without help, without protection, but also the knowledge that the alternative, reporting it, could have been worse. There are no good answers, only scars, on my body, on my conscience. And every time I pass a subway grate in DC, I wonder if they're still there, surviving, in the darkness. Among the echoes and the rats and the ghosts of workers who died 40 years ago, waiting for the next intruder, the next adult with a camera, with promises, with threats, defending their underground home, the only place where they feel safe, even if it's a concrete tomb, and the echo of my name. Peregrine, with a stifled laugh. It wasn't my distorted voice. It was one of them, imitating me, playing, before deciding I was a threat, before the fear, before the trauma, before they decided to attack to protect themselves. That laugh, It was the last thing they had left of childhood, in their underground refuge. And I, without knowing, had silenced it. With my presence, my invasion, my camera, turning them from children playing echoes to fighters defending territory, to re-victimized victims. And that's why, more than the putrid water, more than the rats, more than the attack, that haunts me every night, in the tunnels of my dreams, the knowledge that I was, in their traumatized minds, exactly what they feared. Another adult, with a camera, invading them, threatening them, forcing them into violence they didn't want, but felt they had to survive. And that is the worst part of it all. The asylum, closed due to scandals in the 1970s, drew me like a magnet. I walked through its halls with cracked mirrors reflecting my tense face, but what I saw in one of them was not just my terrified expression. It was someone else, a dark silhouette approaching from behind, and when I turned around, there was no one there. My name is Isolde Crane, 29 years old, independent researcher of historical institutional abuse. I had spent 3 years documenting forgotten horrors, Native American schools, juvenile labor camps, mental institutions. My work had appeared in ProPublica and The Atlantic, but Graymont State Psychiatric Hospital was different, personal. My great-aunt Nephile had been a patient there in the 1960s. She died under suspicious circumstances. The official record said cardiac complications during treatment. But letters I found in my grandmother's attic told a different story. Non-consensual experiments, punitive lobotomies, systematic abuse. The asylum closed in 1978 after a federal investigation, but those responsible never faced real charges. Confidential settlements, sealed records, history buried. I came to unearth it. It was September, 3 p.m. on a sunny Sunday. Irony that such a dark place was bathed in golden afternoon light. Graymont stood on the outskirts of Ithaca, New York, 5 stories of Victorian brick with a central tower. It had once been magnificent. Now it was a Gothic ruin. Broken windows, ivy devouring the walls, collapsed balconies. The fence had signs: condemned property, structural hazard, no trespassing. I ignored them. I had obtained semi-legal permits from the city for academic research. If anyone asked, I had documents. I found an entrance in the east wing, a service door with a broken lock. I pushed it open. It creaked, echoed hollowly. Inside, the smell hit me first. Stale disinfectant. As if 40 years later, the building still sweated Lysol and formaldehyde, mixed with mold, dampness, and something sweeter. Organic, chemical decay. My flashlight revealed a long hallway, cracked linoleum, walls with peeling institutional green paint, doors on both sides, patient rooms. I began to explore methodically. My equipment: DSLR camera, audio recorder, notebook, 3 flashlights, extra batteries, respirator mask, gloves, map of the Historical Archives building, phone with photos of my great-aunt's documents, her patient number, admission dates, room location. The first room was small, 10 feet by 10, metal bed bolted to the floor, mattress missing, and on the frame, leather straps, 4 of them, wrists, ankles, rotten but recognizable. My stomach twisted. These had been used on patients like Nephile, tying them down during treatments, during punishments, during endless nights when they screamed too loudly. I photographed, I documented, but my hands were shaking slightly. I continued. More rooms, all similar. Beds, straps, some had other equipment, rusty electroshock helmets, bite guards with teeth marks, straitjackets hanging from hooks, and on the walls, scribbles left by patients. Help. It hurts. Please. Mommy. Repeated until the letters lost their shape, disintegrating into madness. Then I came to a different room, larger, A common room, apparently. There were collapsed couches, scattered chairs, empty shelves where books or games had probably once been, and mirrors, dozens of them, on the walls, part of some therapeutic concept probably. Patients confronting their reflection, self-recognition, some pseudoscientific bullshit. But now the mirrors were cracked, broken, some just fragments and frames, others with webs of fractures radiating from central impacts. I approached one, large, 2 meters high, cracked but mostly intact. I looked at myself, my pale face, large eyes, black hair pulled back, tense expression. Then, in the reflection, behind me, movement, a shadow crossing from left to right. I turned around, quickly, my heart pounding. No one there, just the empty room, dust floating in the light from the window. Paranoia, I muttered. Just your shadow with the changing light. But I wasn't completely convinced. The multiple mirrors created a disturbing effect. My reflection multiplied, fragmented. Some mirrors showing me from the front, others from the side. Some so broken that my face was a distorted puzzle. And between the reflections, dark spaces, where glass was missing, voids that seemed to watch me. I moved to the next floor. Metal stairs, reliable steps. I climbed to the second floor. Here the light was dimmer. Fewer windows, or more covered by outside vegetation. My flashlight was necessary even with the sun outside. The hallway was narrower, and the smell stronger. That disinfectant mixed with something chemical. As if treatments had been more intense here. I found a room labeled electroconvulsive therapy. The door was half open. I pushed it. The room had a chair in the center, similar to a dentist's chair, but with more straps and equipment. A large machine with cables, electrodes, everything rusty, dead, but ominous, on the wall. A corkboard with papers still pinned to it, yellowed, curled from humidity. I approached. They were treatment records. Patient 4721, Nephili Crane, 15 ECT sessions. Response, continued resistance, recommendation, more invasive procedure. My aunt's name, her sessions, her suffering documented so casually. I felt anger and nausea. This was what I had come to find. Evidence, but to see it. On official paper, with her name. I photographed everything, every document, every detail of the room. Then I heard something. Behind me, in the hallway, breathing, ragged, laborious, like someone with asthma or panic. I froze. Was it my own breathing? I listened. No, it was coming from another direction, outside the room. Hello? I called. Is anyone there? The breathing stopped. Total silence. Then, footsteps, light, shuffling, moving away down the hallway. I left the room. I shone my flashlight. The hallway was empty, but dust on the floor showed footprints, fresh, bare feet, small, like a woman's or a teenager's. I wasn't alone. I should have left then, reported it, come back with the police. But I needed more evidence, and I wanted to know who else was here. Homeless, another researcher. I followed the footprints, down the hallway, turning the corner, reaching a more dilapidated section. The ceiling here had severe water damage, brown stains, warped sections, about to collapse. The footprints led to a door at the end, open, darkness beyond. I approached slowly. I don't want any trouble, I said. I'm just researching the history of this place. If you live here, I respect that. Just let me know you're okay, and I'll leave. No response, but I felt it. A presence. Someone listening, watching. I entered the room. It was an office, large desk, filing cabinets, and on the wall, more mirrors, but these were mostly intact, as if this room had been better preserved. I saw myself reflected from multiple angles, and in one of the mirrors, behind my reflection, I saw a figure, standing in the corner, watching me. Thin, faded hospital gown, long gray hair, face in shadows. I turned around. The corner was empty. My heart was pounding. Had I really seen something? Or were the mirrors playing tricks? I looked back at the mirror, my reflection, alone, nothing else. "You're losing your mind," I whispered. "This place is affecting you." I decided to look for the files. If this was an administrative office, maybe there were records, documents that the authorities hadn't confiscated. I opened filing cabinets. Most were empty, looted, but one at the back. A stuck drawer. I pulled hard. It opened with a squeak. Inside, folders, dozens, with patients' names, medical records, and something else, diaries, written by staff apparently. I took one. The handwriting was tight, frantic. Dr. Quillen, January 1972. The patients are becoming more difficult. Transorbital lobotomies are showing results, but family members are asking too many questions. We need better documentation to justify procedures. Or better yet, less documentation. What is not written cannot be proven. More pages, more horrors. Patient 4721 resists treatment, insists she is not ill, that her family committed her for convenience. Typical delusion. Lobotomy procedure approved for March. March 1968. 2 months before Nephili died, they had lobotomized her, and probably killed her, or destroyed her so much that her heart simply gave out. Tears clouded my vision. Anger, pain, for Nephili, for all the patients whose stories were in these files. Then, the floor beneath my feet creaked. Horrible sound. Wood protesting. Cracking. I looked down. The boards were rotten. Water damage. Decades of neglect. And my weight. Plus that of kneeling on the filing cabinet. Too much. The floor gave way. Partial collapse. A 2-square-meter section crumbling, falling to the first floor below. I tried to jump back. It wasn't fast enough. My right foot fell through. Trapped between beams and broken boards. Stuck. Pain exploded in my ankle. Sharp, but not broken. Just trapped. Twisted at a horrible angle as my body hung halfway through the hole. Shit, I pulled, trying to free my foot. It wouldn't budge. The debris held it fast. I could see the first floor below, 10 feet down. If I fell all the way, if more of the floor collapsed, I would fall, probably breaking something important. I breathed, trying to calm down, assess. My foot was stuck at an angle, between 2 beams. I needed to move my leg, twist it, to free it. I started working, moving slowly, pain stabbing, but gradually, the foot loosening. Then I heard something. Above, on the 3rd floor. Footsteps. Multiple. Fast. As if someone were running. And a voice. Murmuring. Patient. New patient. Needs treatment. Cure. I must cure. The horror was visceral. I wasn't alone. And whoever was here wasn't stable. I pulled harder, my foot finally freeing itself. Pulling back to solid ground. Away from the hole. I got up, limping, my ankle protesting, but functional. The footsteps upstairs coming down now, the stairs, coming towards this floor. I needed to hide, or get out. Now. I looked around. The office had a closet, large, metal, for files probably. I got inside, closing the door, leaving a small crack to see through. The footsteps reached the hallway, slower now, deliberate, searching. I know you're here. I heard the floor, falling. The voice was female, old, rough. Come, you need help. Everyone needs help. The doctor can heal. Through the crack. I saw her enter the office, and my blood ran cold. She was a woman, 60 maybe, but she looked 80, emaciated, pale, blotchy skin, long, tangled gray hair. She was wearing, God, she was wearing a hospital gown, old, faded, as if she had been wearing it for decades. Was she a former patient? Had she been living here since the closure? In her hand, she was carrying something, a metal tray with medical instruments, syringes, vials, rusty equipment, but stored like treasures. Where are you? New patient. I need to evaluate, diagnose, Treat. She moved around the office, checking, searching. He approached the mirrors. He looked at himself and smiled, a twisted expression. Yes. Yes, I'm still here. I still heal. As I was healed, he turned towards my closet. Are you there? Hiding? I held my breath. I didn't move, praying he wouldn't open it. His hand reached for the closet door, twisted fingers, long, dirty nails, grabbing the knob. Then, a distant sound like glass breaking from the first floor, downstairs. He froze. Another one, more patience. He let go of the closet. He left the office, toward the stairs. Going down, I waited. 30 seconds, a minute. Then I left, quietly. I needed to go, now. But the files, the evidence, the journals, still in the drawer. I couldn't leave them. Quickly, I grabbed what I could, stuffing them into my backpack. Maybe a dozen folders, including Nephile's and Dr. Quillen's journals. Then, toward the exit, quietly, limping on my bad ankle, I reached the stairs. I started down, slowly, avoiding making noise. Second floor, continued. First floor approaching. Then I saw her, downstairs, in the lobby, standing, waiting, as if she knew I would come this way. There you are, she said, smile widening. You can't leave, not without treatment. It's protocol. I don't need treatment, I said, trying to sound calm. I'm just researching. I'm not a patient. They all say that, she laughed, broken sound. They all deny it, but the doctor knows. The doctor always knows. Which doctor? Dr. Quillen. He's dead. He's been dead for decades. No, he shouted. He's here, in me. He taught me. He cured me. And now I cure. He started up the stairs, towards me, the medical tray in his hands, the syringes clinking. I backed away, climbing stairs again, toward the second floor. Don't run away, he called. It only makes the treatment more difficult. Those who resist, they need stronger doses. I reached the second floor. I ran down the hall, looking for an alternative exit, window, fire escape, something. Her footsteps behind me, climbing, chasing. The treatment is necessary. I learned that. When they treated me, I resisted. They hurt me, but I learned. I found a window, large, broken. It overlooked the roof of the adjacent wing, one floor below, a jump of maybe 10 feet. I looked back. She was reaching the hallway. 20 feet away. No choice. I jumped. Through the window, remaining glass cutting, landing on metal roof, rolling, my ankle screaming, but down, outside the main building. I looked up. She at the window, watching me. She didn't jump, just watched. You'll come back, she said. They all come back, because the guilt eats them, like it ate me. I got up, hobbled across the roof, toward the edge, found a drain pipe, old but solid. I climbed down, hands slipping, but climbing down. I reached the ground, ran as fast as I could with a bad ankle, across the grounds, toward the fence, toward my car, behind me. I listened. Screams, laughter, impossible to tell. I reached my car, got in, started the engine, accelerated, away from Greymont, from its horrors, from its last patient, lost to institutional madness. I drove for 30 minutes before stopping, in a store parking lot, my hands shaking so much I could barely hold the steering wheel. I checked my backpack. The files were still there, the evidence, including journals documenting decades of abuse, and at the bottom, something else that I didn't remember putting there, a small glass vial with a yellowish liquid, a faded label, Thorazine, 1976. When had that gotten there? Had she put it there without me noticing? I looked at it. Medicine that had expired 50 years ago, probably inert or poisonous. What she had planned to cure me with. I threw it out the window into the trash container. I didn't want anything from that place, except the evidence that could expose the truth. I went to the emergency room for my ankle. X-rays showed a severe sprain, No fracture. They bandaged it, told me to rest, ice, elevation, and then home, my apartment in Ithaca, where I spent the next week transcribing documents, scanning, digitizing, preparing an article. The story came out 3 months later, in The Atlantic. The Forgotten Horrors of Graymont, an institution of torture. Full details. Testimonies from survivors I found based on archives, and documents proving negligence, abuse, non-consensual experimentation. The story exploded. Renewed investigations. Civil lawsuits from victims' families. Official apologies from the state. But I never mentioned her. The woman, the one who still lived in the asylum, the former patient who had become her own torturer. Because, what could I say? That there was a crazy woman living in ruins, trying to cure intruders with expired medications. It would attract attention, but the wrong kind. They would arrest her. They would institutionalize her again. And after what she had suffered there, after what the system had done to her, I felt I couldn't. Even though she had terrified me, even though she had almost treated me with her rusty syringes, she was a victim, like Nefel, like all the patients whose names were in those files. Only she had never been able to leave, physically or mentally. So I left her, in her crumbling asylum, with her mirrors and her memories and her madness. And I hope, I pray, that no one else will be foolish enough to explore that place, because the horrors of Graymont are not just in the past. They are alive, breathing, waiting in rooms with cracked mirrors, ready to cure the next intruder who enters in search of truth, with treatments that destroy as much as any lobotomy, but done with the intention of helping, in a mind so broken that it cannot distinguish torture from therapy. And that is the most terrifying thing of all. Not the obvious monsters, but the victims so damaged that they become monsters themselves, perpetuating the cycle in abandoned buildings where no one sees them, where no one stops them, until you stumble upon them in the darkness and you discover that some reflections in cracked mirrors are not tricks of light, they are warnings.